on a disk floating through space with a tiny sun.
Hey, I'm FTFE and welcome back to the channel that ties stupidity and barbed wire and throws it in the Bedford Canal. We're going to have another discussion about the shape of the planet tonight, and it's 2020. Joining me as ever is the man that says he's not the Morgile, but my undercover research has discovered that is actually the Morgile, Team Skeptic.
Hey guys, having family problems right now. I know I normally ask for money from my PayPal that's in the link. I promise it won't be used for heroin. I can't promise I won't call my heroin dealer or go to his house, but I promise you guys, if you donate money to help me get out of my situation. Oh wait, I'm playing Team Skeptic tonight, not Morgile, right? Okay, yeah, right. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm Team Skeptic and I'm here to party. Again, I'll just make a couple of quick announcements. I do have a Reddit that's now up. It's a Reddit for our community to try to talk shit to these flat earthers. And hold on, I'm bringing it up right now so you guys can all join it. I've found that some people don't like using Discord, specifically because it requires them to leave a browser. So this is basically our browser Discord right here, reddit.com/r/Team Skeptic. My son set it up, and we're going to be having some fun on there. Another thing, tomorrow night I'll be doing my 25,000 subscriber celebration. It's been a long trip, but I have finally crossed 25K. So we'll be doing a 25K celebration tomorrow on my channel. Friday night celebration. Party. Pineapple on pizza. We may even throw. No. Ooh, what do you guys want me to? What do y'all want me to wear? I've already worn the mankini. What's next?
Just don't show yourself. That would be best. I don't know.
Awesome. No, but for real, everybody, tomorrow night we're gonna do the 25,000 subscriber celebration. I appreciate everybody who's subscribed to my channel. I've had a recent uptick because of my my Flat Earth Karen video, which was Shelley Lewis. It got covered by H3H3. That video, not my video, but the source video got covered. And it seems like there's been a lot of people looking at Flat Earth Karens lately. So,
yeah, my Flat Earth Karen debate did quite well as well. Funny that. But joining us tonight is someone I've not spoken to before. He calls himself the Mad Philosopher. First question for you is pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, you're winning so far. So, all right, just want to take a couple of minutes, introduce yourself, tell people where they can find you, and just tell people why you think the Earth's flat, briefly.
All right. Well, I go by the Mad Philosopher. You can find me on Discord at the 24/7 Flat Earth Discord. Just Discord /GG or /Flat Earth. We've got the custom URL. Anyways, why I think the way I do is I came across a few videos back in 2015. Thought it was nuts. Thought it was stupid. But I started thinking, why not? Let me at least give it a chance. I started thinking to myself. Hold on a sec.
That's okay.
Sorry, my son was crying in the background. Anyways, I started thinking. I've got to see why these guys think the way they do, right? So I started thinking, I gotta wipe the slate clean, re-examine everything that I was taught throughout school as to why the globe is supposed to be the globe. I found some things to be a little bit presumptuous, a little bit assertive. Some things were just on theory without actual proper measurements or scientific method experimentation done to verify results, or to re-examine quote unquote settled science, because I don't like the idea of settled science, because the very nature of science, nothing's supposed to be settled. Nothing is proven per se, because everything's got to be re-examined. Everything's up for debate at all times. That's why flat Earth exists. Otherwise, everyone would just believe the globe, and that would just be the thing forever. But if people re-examine science, you find new discoveries.
Okay.
So I found... Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so if you want to... what we're going to do is I'm going to give the Mad Philosopher 10 minutes to present evidence, then I'm going to present evidence for my stance. Then he's going to get 15 minutes to rebut my evidence, and I'm going to get 15 minutes to rebut his evidence. You know how it goes. We've been here before. Team can act as a moderator and ask relevant questions that need asking. Tell me to shut up if I need to. I try to be as nice as possible, but you sent me some stuff. I've got that ready to go. So if you just want to start, I'll start a 10-minute timer, and we'll get into it.
All right. Well, first I would like to present the Selenian eclipse or lunar eclipse. There's a video that I sent you. I'm not sure if you can. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to just play through it a bit, so that way I can go over? Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Rather than me play the sound, you just talk and tell us what's happening, so I don't get copyright.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, so the lunar eclipse is supposed to be the Earth's shadow cast on the moon. This Selenian eclipse, or lunar eclipse, has both the sun and the moon above the horizon at the same time. Now, if it's supposed to be the Earth's shadow cast on the moon, and this guy even mentions that there's an odd phenomenon that is a little weird. He calls it an optical illusion, where the shadow actually comes down from the top, where he thought it would come from the bottom. If it's supposed to be the Earth's shadow cast on the moon, I don't believe you should be able to see the sun at the same time above the horizon, because that sort of puts you at a lower altitude than both of them. You're sort of looking at a V type angle, with you in the center, of course, on a flat Earth. I don't see how any level of refraction would honestly make this possible. I've heard it before. I've seen a GIF or a meme going around saying, trying to debunk the flat Earth argument. But the meme itself has bending refraction. I guess I should have sent you the GIF. Anyways, I don't believe this should be possible on a flat or on a globe. Let me see. I had some notes as to this was December 10th, 2011. He mentions it's 6:30 in the morning, and at one point he mentions it goes all the way to 7:04 a.m. Says it's 18 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know the exact refractive index for that day. But this is a reoccurring thing in history. You can actually predict these with an astrolabe. I sent you the link with the astrolabe. The earliest astrolabe recorded was, I think it was third or 5th century BC. And all history before the globe was theorized, the entirety of all civilizations, religious, non-religious, cultures, civilizations, everyone used their experiences and their observations to predict to construct their reality. They created things like the astrolabe to map the sky and project it on a flat surface. And that's how we That's how they were able to predict, predict solar eclipses, star patterns. They just observed the stars, recorded it, and if the astrolabe was created assuming a flat Earth, and it still holds accurate today, I believe that to be positive evidence for a flat Earth. There is a spherical astrolabe that was made in, was it 1480? But of course that was created after the flat astrolabe that assumed the flat Earth to begin with. Let me see, where's my notes? Oh yeah, still lunar eclipse. Okay. Only got 10 minutes. So I guess we'll get in more in depth when we get when we get to the back and forth on that. I'll just go ahead with my next bit of information. The platform habitat footage. There's the video I sent you with, it says the impossible geometric horizon.
Get that up. One sec. Yeah, right. This one.
Yeah.
Let me just double the speed on it. Okay.
Okay, so this you see two platforms. One is 3 miles away. The other is 10 miles away. And then beyond the platform habitat, oh, there we go. See, it shows the observer height is 8 feet. And it shows the curvature calculator here on the screen. There should be 29 feet of platform habitat completely hidden. But you see all the way to the bottom, the support beams, the reflection of off the water from the lights on top of the platform, the floor, and then you see the horizon beyond it. I don't know exactly how far beyond, but I think it would be safe to say it's at least another mile out. So this is approximately 11 plus miles that you can see. And as it points out here, there's no curvature left to right. It pans out here in a moment, and you can see even further than that. But that's still flat the entire way. So you got a flat horizon going forward on the z-axis, and then you got a flat horizon going on the x-axis, left to right. With the Earth being a globe, it's obviously got to be. It can only be so big. It's got a finite horizon where you can only see so far. That's got to dip down at some point. And with the globe 25,000 miles in circumference, give or take a few, I think 24,9. I forgot the exact number. Roughly 25,000 miles in circumference. It's got to dip at some point. If you can see beyond what it's supposed to, where it's supposed to dip, that's a little bit of a problem, and I believe that to be positive evidence for a flat Earth.
Okay. Just finish making a quick note. Right. Thank you for that. Right, so I'll do my evidence. Team, make sure I don't go over 10 minutes for me, would you?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, so been here, done this lots of times. When I say positive evidence, I mean things that exclusively support your position. So if I'm going to make the claim that I know the Earth is a globe and it rotates, then I I need to be able to back that up with verifiable data. verifiable facts that anyone can go and check. So that's what I'm going to do. How do we know that the Earth is a globe? It's simple. We've measured it. The shape of the Earth has been measured many times. Let me add the page up here. There we go. Surveyors measure the ground all the time. It's kind of their job. Let me just get this up, sorry. Lost my desktop catcher. There it is. Okay, so let me refresh this. Surveyors have measured the shape of the Earth. It's been done over and over. This is a particular one where they measured across the USA. It shows you on the lines there the measurements that they did across and up there. Now, the way that they do it is by using celestial navigation to figure out where they are, one side of the USA to the other, and then they, in little sections, measure the elevation to certain certain targets. So they measure from one place to the next, and then from that place to the next, and they calculate it all out by making triangles to measure the entire shape. Now, I'm just going to get down to the page that shows you what happens when they measure all these triangles. I did have it there, but it seems to have reloaded. Give me one sec. So when they measure these triangles, as we know, if the Earth is flat, then triangles would all have internal angles of 180 if you measured the ground. But when they did these measurements, these triangles that they all make from, so they'd measure from one point to the next, and then from one point to there, and then you get the triangulation points and map it all out. But all the triangles that they measured, it's the next page, so where is it? Here we go. So all the triangles that were measured, these ones here, were greater than 180 for their total internal angles. And that can only be the case if the total surface of the land that they were measuring was curved. There's no reason why they should have this excess, that extra angle. If the Earth is flat, then they would be 180 degrees, but it's not. When you measure the ground, when actual people whose jobs it is to go out and measure the ground, they get the observation that the Earth's a globe. And this observation is not just one thing that's been done. The surveying has been done all around the world. India, Europe, Great Britain, and all of the observations, when they map them all out, they all give the same thing. They all give that we have a globe with the radius of approximately 3,950 miles. So the curve is there, and it's measurable, it's detectable. Anyone can go out and learn surveying methods and figure out how to measure it themselves. It's not a super secret. So there is observable and testable measurements there that people can go. And it's not just measurements of the ground. We can measure the fact that the Earth is rotating. We know the Earth is rotating because there's certain things that happen because the Earth is rotating that have no other explanation. Obviously, the most famous of these, I don't know if you've seen it, Mad Philosopher, but...
If the Earth is spinning at one rotation every 24 hours, that means that every hour it has to turn 15 degrees. And if the gyroscope is mounted anywhere on Earth, it's going to drift. In today's 21st century navigation systems, they're using what's called a ring laser gyroscope. It is extremely precise. If we could simply get one of these ring laser gyroscopes, we would be able to prove once and for all that there is no rotation to the Earth. One of the people in the community actually purchased one for $20,000. But what we found is when we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15 degree per hour drift.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. And it's not that we're going, oh, that's the only person that's ever done it. Bob just is the one that did it most publicly, and it just happens to be a flat earther. And he showed what every single interferometric gyroscope in the world shows, that there is a 15-degree drift. But as he says in this clip...
So this on the moon. So
yeah, that's away. So this thing...
Why aren't you playing? One sec.
But yeah, if we don't...
Front of the plane.
All right, here we go. Let's get to that.
Front of my hand is the...
Wrong. No, not really. No, let's have a look at him playing with his toy.
So this on the moon. So
yeah, that's away. So this thing actually is mounted to the frame of the aircraft, okay? So when you mount it on the aircraft, and say my front of my hand is the
front of the plane.
Front of the plane, all right? And you can see this thing right here, which what it is an attitude or an artificial horizon is what it's called.
And Bob is right. They're all moving.
Down here you have the very, very fine roll, pitch, and yaw. And you can see they're all moving, right? It's just sitting here, but they're all moving.
Yep, they're all moving as a gyroscope maintains its fixed position relative to the distant stars of the universe, which means it passes floor, which is... Yeah, I need Bob.
As they're saying, well, you know, that 15-degree-per-hour rotation is picking up the roll. But the interesting thing about what's going on here is you have movement on both on all the roll, pitch, and yaw axes, and it's essentially doing this.
Bob, right, so what Bob said there was that the gyroscope was just sitting there on his desk, not moving, it was just sitting there on his desk, and it was picking up that 15-degree-per-hour drift in 3 axes. And if you map that out, if you map out the physical measurements of what that gyroscope is getting, you get the surface of a sphere. And as the gyroscope can only measure the movement of what it's on, it shows that it's on a sphere that is rotating at 15 degrees per hour. And like I said, it's not just Bob's one that does that, it's all of them. They all show the same thing. That there is no other way to interpret what the technology is doing. It can't detect anything else that's going on. It can't see the sky or detect any movements of the heavens. The gyroscope that they use can only detect the physical movement of what is on. So we have measurements that the Earth is a globe, that we have measurements that the Earth is rotating. And there is things that happen only because the Earth is rotating. One of my favourites to show is this one.
If you were trapped inside and unable...
This is the gentleman physicist. What he did was built a pendulum in a local high-rise building and let it swing for as long as it could. I think it went for about 45 minutes. And based purely on the fact that this pendulum, after it was swinging for a long time, it drifted, and they could measure the drift. They could see what angle it was. They knew because they were in the northern hemisphere it was going to rotate a certain way, and with a simple bit of math they were able to calculate their latitude on the globe purely based on that angle that they got. And they got pretty damn close. They're about 1 degree off. But based purely on that angle that they made there, they were able to calculate their latitude on the globe. And this will work anywhere that you are, except on the equator. You wouldn't really get a drift on the equator. But this happens because of Coriolis. This happens because it's a fixed pivot point with the Earth literally rotating independently of it. So that's a manifestation of the fact that the Earth is curving. And there is no explanation for why that happens if the Earth is flat and stationary. This is a manifestation of the fact that the Earth is a globe and it is rotating at a certain velocity. It is rotating at a certain angular speed of 15 degrees per hour. That's why that happens, and there is no explanation for it on a flat Earth. So that's my argument, is the fact that we have measurements. They've been done repeatedly and they all match up. We have measurements of the rotation, and we have things that happen purely because the Earth is rotating that can't be explained any other way. Atmospheric refraction is part of our model, so sometimes we can see further than we're supposed to, and things that we expect. So when I say positive evidence, this is what I present, things that can only happen only happen if the Earth is a globe and it is rotating. And that's me done. Right. So what we're going to do next is, Mad Philosopher, you can take 15 minutes to rebut anything that I brought up there in my 10 minutes, okay? Not anything else, just the things that I brought up there, okay?
All right. Well, the gyroscope, I've got a picture somewhere that shows there's a chip inside the gyroscope. I'm not sure what's programmed on that chip. Could be legit. Could be programmed to do certain things on purpose. I'm not sure. But what I also think that that gyroscope might be detecting is the movement of the ether. What we think well, at least what the general consensus on amongst most flat earthers is, the sky is revolving around us. We're on a flat stationary Earth, and the sky is revolving around us. Now, if that's the case, like the inside, if you hollow out a marble, right, and just like all the stars are on the inside of that like speckled glass, and that's like rotating around us, kind of is basically what it would look like. And the ether inside that might be what the gyroscope is detecting. What else? The surveyors. Okay, the reason why I used the evidence that I presented, the observation that I presented was over water, was because I figured the surveyor argument might come up. Over land is jagged. Land is not always going to be flat. You would have to synthetically alter the land to become flat in order to get a very precise measurement. That's why we use water for. That's why FE Core used the water for their laser experiments. That's why a lot of people use water for their laser experiments or observations, because water has a very easily testable property of remaining flat when unmanipulated. Inside a container, on anything that can hold water, it remains flat. The only way it's not flat is on the very edge, that meniscus curve curving upward due to water tension, or very small amounts in droplets due to water tension. But that's it. That's the only time you actually observe water curving. Other than that, it's all flat. So if you use observations over water, you're just going to see a flat horizon. If you use land, you're not going to get precise measurements because good luck finding flat land.
No.
I don't really know how to spend 15 minutes going through all that.
I also brought up the pendulum. The
pendulum, right? Okay. Well, again, the pendulum could just be detecting the movement of the ether. I don't really see a reason why it wouldn't be that. And if you notice in the beginning, he had to move it. He had to let it start swinging to begin with. If the Earth was rotating, why couldn't you just let it hang suspended, and have it slowly start moving and eventually pick up some sort of drift? Why does it have to start moving? Why do you have to push it? Even all the pendulums around the world in museums or wherever they're in, they always have to be pushed to begin with. You can't just let it hang and it's detect anything.
Okay.
So I honestly don't see that as positive evidence. Sorry, go ahead.
That's right. I mean, if that's all you want to say about the evidence that I brought up, that's fine. We can talk about it more in the back and forth, but I'll go over what you said. Right. So we'll start with the black swan. the observation of the oil rigs. I mean, it's been done to death by now, but refraction is a thing. Refraction can make the horizon appear further than it's supposed to, and that's part of our model. So I don't see this as positive evidence for the flat Earth, because this is perfectly possible on our model, because refraction is part of our model. Refraction happens because the Earth is curved. It happens as much as it does because the Earth is curved. It means that it gives it more of a gradient for the light to start bending. And I do have a video that actually demonstrates exactly that. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. Luckily, a fellow YouTuber called Mr. Sensible created an analogy of this using other things to show that horizons can be lifted above where they're supposed to be. So I'm just going to play this video quickly.
Okay, Black Swan Killer. Over here we have a little tack with a white paper on, a little flag. Here we've got our sphere with our platform on, and we've got this blue area which is beyond the horizon. It can't be seen on the close-up footage. So what we'll do is we'll introduce some refraction. I'll keep the camera running in the corner so you can see the whole thing. So we've got our view of the platform just in front of the horizon, the physical geometric horizon, and you can't see the blue which is beyond the geometric horizon, and you can't see the white flag either. Here comes our refraction, distortion. There's the platform, and as we change it, you can just see the blue that's beyond the geometric horizon and the white flag behind it. There it goes. Here it is. Refraction will bring things beyond the geometric horizon. Black Swan busted.
So what he's saying there is that when there is refraction, particularly refraction that is of a positive nature like that, it can extend the horizon indefinitely depending on it. A magnifying glass works because of refraction. And our atmosphere causes light to refract. It does the same thing. So refraction can cause this observation. This observation is 100% possible on our model. In fact, it has even been, let me get the website up, mathematically modelled out, thanks to Mick West. So if you just give me one sec to find that. About refraction, there we go. Okay, so let me just display this, one sec. Right, so this is Mick West's refraction simulator, and he's showing here what you would see on a normal day, right? Most of the time under standard refractive conditions with just a pretty straight up gradient of temperature, the rigs are beyond the horizon, or at least one of them is. You can't see the legs of it. However, if you introduce some refraction, so all this is done, this program introduces a temperature gradient in what's going on. It programs in a temperature gradient and shows what light should be. And it shows that you hardly have to have any of a decrease in temperature. You get a little bit, you have to have something up here that they call a temperature inversion, where there would be, it's around about here, there would be quite a sharp change in temperature over a short distance, and that would cause that the wiggliness of the cranes. But this is perfectly possible with some relatively standard refraction. I mean, if I go back to refraction on a clear day and just quickly try and recreate what that had, I think it was like that. There was something up here. But as you can see, I'm just mucking about with what the temperature gradients would be, and it can give you all sorts of effects. And you can see things like this all the time, but Yeah, so there you go. There's the horizon beyond it, based on just a little bit of temperature being different, not too far away from it, and it's the effects of refraction have been quantified. We understand how refraction works. If there's a temperature gradient, it's gonna cause distortion in the atmosphere, and because we have an atmosphere, we're gonna see refraction. So I don't see the black swan as positive evidence in the slightest.
Can you send me a link to this calculator real quick?
Yeah, it's metabunk.org/refraction. Let me just grab that.
All right.
Right, I'll just chuck that link to you in Discord there. So yeah, that's why I don't think the black swan is positive evidence for a flat Earth, because it could also be the case on a globe Earth with some relatively standard refraction. And what was the other thing you brought up? Right, so the Chenalian eclipse, that's actually quite easily explained. So all that means is that the moon and the sun are actually below the horizon, but due to refraction, they're brought up above the horizon. Now, I've got the picture stored in here somewhere. Give me 1 second, I'll find it. So, yeah, right. So the Selena, yeah, words, yeah, that eclipse that I can't say because I get it wrong. It occurs during a lunar eclipse. The sun and the moon are observed above the horizon, but atmospheric refraction bend light rays and lift the image of the sun and the moon typically about 0.6 degrees. So both appear above the horizon. It's quite simple, really, the reason why it happens. And again, it's something that can be explained with our model. It's not positive evidence for the flat Earth because our model has an explanation for it. It isn't a problem. During a total lunar eclipse, the position of the sun, Earth, and moon are in a straight line. In such a configuration, both the sun and moon should not be visible at the same time during a lunar eclipse for an observer on Earth. However, Earth's atmosphere refracts light, as I've just explained with the black swan. As a result, the position of the moon can be up to about 0.5, 0.6 degrees lower than where it appears. And the same thing happens with the sun at the opposite point in the sky. It's the reason that observing both objects in the sky at the same time during a total lunar eclipse is possible. Well, it is possible. It's a rare phenomenon and can only happen at a specific place and time during the progression of a total lunar eclipse. And one of the best things about this is that if you do the maths around calculating it, it works on a globe model. It works on our model. But there is no flat Earth math, no flat Earth prediction math based around a flat Earth model that can explain why this happens and why we can predict when this is going to happen. So if anything, this is much more evidence that the Earth is what we say it is than evidence that the Earth is flat. Now, the other thing you said was an astrolabe. Astrolabes are brilliant evidence that the Earth is a globe, once again. So, I'm a sailor, ex-Navy. I've learned a lot about astrolabes. One of the first things about astrolabes is the plate that use, it can't be used everywhere on Earth. They kind of have to be changed based on where you are on Earth. And they show lines of latitude and star constellations based on where you are. So you can line it up where you are and look and see, and as long as you're on calm water, it works pretty well. But what you notice is that the constellation of stars are more distorted towards the ends of an astrolabe than in the middle. But as you change oil and as you change your position, the constellations are less distorted based on where you are, because it's on a globe. If you go to the southern hemisphere, you have to get a different plate and stuff to go in it. It only works in particular places, and the astrolabe, very similar to the sextant, will show you that an object in the sky will decrease by 1 degree every 69 miles, which, when you map out the data, when you physically say, okay, well, this is that for every single point, it only gives you one shape, then that's a sphere. So an astrolabe, very much like a sextant and other navigation tools that sailors used, are based on a globe. They only work because the Earth is a globe. So once again, an astrolabe isn't evidence that the Earth is flat. at all. In fact, it's a lot more evidence that the Earth is a globe based on the design of them and the position it maps out. I don't think anything else was brought up. Did you say anything else in your 10 minutes? Did I cover anything, everything that you said?
No, you hit them.
Team, any thoughts?
Honestly, I haven't been paying attention. I've been playing with the chat, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, from what I saw, there was a few things that he said that. One thing I do want to point out. You said that when you zoom in on the thing, you can see the bottom of the horizons. You can also see the flat horizon, or the bottom of the platforms, the flat horizon. One thing you didn't bring up was the fact that you can't see the land that's behind the second platform. Should the Earth be flat, don't you think that you should be able to see the land that's behind it?
No, because you can't see forever. That's not how optics work in your eyes. Or
what makes you stop? No. Wrong. Please, wrong. Optics don't mean shit, right? Optics receive light. Your vision doesn't project out. It just receives light. It receives light coming in. So if the platform in the back has the ability to send the light all the way to your eyes, reflected light or the lights that are emitting from the platform, why would no reflected light from the land behind it reach your eyes as well?
You can't see forever. Angular resolution is a thing. Angular size is a thing. You can't, when two lights are too close together, your eyes and your mind can't reconcile them. That's why they disappear. No camera can.
The fraction limit and the radial criteria you're talking about, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Okay,
and
so,
no camera can.
Hold on. I'm
Go ahead.
gonna go get the elevation of the island that's behind it.
We'll just give team 5 minutes, and then you and I get into a back and forth.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll grab the elevation of the island behind it. Hold on.
Okay, so thanks very much, guys in the chat, for keeping on chatting. We'll read super chats out at the end. If you have any questions for me or for Mad Philosopher, I'll try and get to as many as possible. So the best way to get them read out is a super chat, but I will try and get to as many as I can. Right, Mad Philosopher, do you mind if I start with a couple of things that you said when you went over the thing, what I brought up? You said about a chip being in gyroscopes. Now, what do you know about interferometric gyroscopes and how they work?
I was talking about the ring laser gyroscope, right?
Yeah. Ring laser or fiber optic. They work on the same principle.
Not a whole bunch. I know how a mechanical gyroscope works.
Cool. We can get onto mechanical gyroscopes because you can actually detect drift with those as well. But let me see if I've got the video in here.
Yeah, like a bicycle tire works the same way.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Right, so...
Hey, I have a question. Just real quick. Does anybody know how to measure distance on Google Earth? I suck.
No, it all changed after I learned it.
Oh, wait, okay. Hold on. I got it right here. I figured it out. All right. So the Anacapa Islands are about 50 kilometers away. And the other one, what was the distance to the back platform? 17 kilometers away?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's about 3 times as far. So it's about 3 times as far in almost a direct line. It'll be slightly offset to the right behind the second platform. But the Anacapa Islands have an elevation of about 930 feet, about 283 meters. How tall are the platforms?
Not that tall, I don't think.
So if the platforms were 283 feet tall, the mountains behind them would be about 1/3 the size. So you should see the island behind it. That's if the elevation or the height of the top of the platforms are 283 meters off the water, which they're not. So the Anacapa Island should be should be absolutely visible in your but behind the platform, behind the second platform, especially when you zoom in. Why is it not?
I don't understand why you think it should be visible.
Because it's not that far away.
Due to perspective, it's 3 times as far away. Okay, hold on. Let me go ahead and just pull up the calculation to tell you how big what the angular size of the mountain should be in the back. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay, right. All right. So while team's doing those calculations, I want to. Oh, I lost the video now. Where'd it go? Just talk about how a gyroscope functions. Sorry, I literally had the video there just now and lost it. There we go. Right, so what a optical gyroscope does, this blue box will basically fire a laser, or light of some kind, and this diagonal line splits the light into 2 paths. So if the device is stationary, if it's not moving, when the light recombines after traveling the equal length path, it will show as no interference. But if it's put on something that is rotating, when the light splits, it will physically change the distance one of the light paths has to travel, which means that when the light recombines back at the mirror, you can measure an interference in the light waves, and that you can calculate that out as a drift. Now, like I said, the gyroscopes that we use will detect this, but on 3 axes, on the yaw, the pitch, and the roll, like Bob said. And there is no explanation for that on the flat Earth, because you said about the ether. Even if the ether was a thing, the ether wouldn't affect this. It would be some kind of electromagnet or something, but there's no way that light is affected by any kind of external force, because light is a neutral charge. Light, it can't be affected by that kind of thing. We know the ether doesn't exist. Mix and Morley demonstrated that 100% to be, that was removed from science, because the results of the Mix and Morley experiment concluded that either the ether rotated with us, or the ether didn't exist. And the thought of the ether rotating with us was ridiculous, so that was dismissed, and we wouldn't be able to detect that anyway. But ether was removed from science. So how can it be ether that it's detecting? What else can it be detecting?
Actually, I don't think he excluded the ether, or Michelson Morley is actually very well known in flat Earth as evidence of the ether, not as discounting the ether.
Honestly, that's because you guys don't understand the experiment. The experiment, the results of the experiment.
Yeah, can I ask a question? Hold on. I just want to step in and ask one question. You just said something that really sticks with me. You said, well, the flat Earth always uses Michelson Morley as their evidence.
I didn't say that.
How do you know that?
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Okay, well, how do you? Okay, well then tell me this: how do you know that Michelson Morley, Albert Michelson, and the Michelson Morley experiment? How do you know that that's evidence to suggest that the Earth is flat, or that that's evidence to suggest that the ether does actually exist?
Well, there was a guy who worked with Michelson Morley, and who worked with Michelson Morley. His name was Pierre Luigi Iguina. He actually created a device in on his homeland that shows that the Earth is not moving. It actually it detects no movement.
Okay, well, we'll get back to that
in a sec.
But first of all, could you tell me what the Michelson Morley experiment was? What they were doing?
You literally just showed it with showing the optical gyroscope.
No, that's more the Sagnac effect. That's
Sagnac.
But no,
okay,
that's not what
you're right.
What was the point of the Michelson Morley experiment? What were they doing?
No, I was thinking about Sagnac. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let me pull up Michelson Morley. Because I wasn't thinking about that, and I haven't looked at that in a while. But I was thinking about saying yak because was Pierluigi Ghina worked with a lot of people back then. He's obviously gone now. But let me get.
Okay, so do you know what the point of the Mix and Morley experiment was? Like,
why don't you just go ahead and
so they knew the Earth was a globe and they knew it rotated around the sun. All right, but the question was to see if they could detect the aether drag. Right, so they knew that the Earth was rotating around the sun, and the hypothesis was that if the Earth was rotating around the sun and aether existed, that you would be able to detect an aether drag. The same as if you're in a car and you stick your hand out the window, you can feel the drag of the wind. The Earth should create a drag through the aether as it rotated around the sun. So they set up the interferometers, and they did this at 2 different points in the Earth's orbit because they would be able to detect different things based on the speed of the Earth at a particular point, right? But what they did was they detected so little that it was within experimental error. And it certainly wasn't enough to detect that the aether existed, or to even suggest the aether existed. So the only results from the Mix and Morley experiment were 2 things, right? Either the aether rotated with the Earth around the sun, like the Earth was literally creating the aether somehow and it all went with the Earth, or the aether didn't exist. That was the 2 conclusions that were possible to get from the results of the Mix and Morley experiment. So when that was at the point that everyone went, well, okay, we need to reconsider what's going on. Obviously, our theories about aether are incorrect. So aether was removed from science because of the Mix and Morley experiment. It's as simple as that. What do you have any to say about that?
No, not really. I mean, dude,
It's something that flat earthers say quite often. They try to claim the Mix and Morley experiment is somehow proves that the aether exists in the Earth's flat, but no, it's very much the opposite. Both Mix and Morley knew that the Earth was a globe when it rotated, and the results of the Mix and Morley experiment discluded ether. So, knowing that ether can't be a thing, what else can be causing the rotation in an interferometric gyroscope? What else is it detecting?
well, I pointed out that there's a chip in there that I don't know who coded or what's in the code.
I mean,
perhaps that has something to do with it.
That's irrelevant, and I can. It's going to have.
It's an electrical device.
Yes, of course, it's an electrical device. It fires, light to use light, but it is set up to detect a certain thing, and that's why they use them on airplanes, right? Because they're so good at detecting motion. That's why they're used on modern aircraft, because it's safer to use them. So if they had chips programming them to tell them certain things, they wouldn't be very useful for their job. So you just going, oh, it's got a chip. It's kind of a get out clause, right? It's like saying, oh,
I'm not claiming.
Fake. But we need to work on an intellectually honest level, and the intellectually honest level is to assume that this device that has been created to do a job does that job. Otherwise, they wouldn't be used.
No, I don't need to assume that. I can be skeptical if I want, and I'm not claiming that chip is what is doing it. I just said because I said that it could be legit, it could be nefarious. I don't know, but I'm not gonna just assume that
going on the intellectually honest assumption that a device designed to measure something does what it's supposed to do. What are the conclusions of what happens? What can we deduce from that? The only thing that we can deduce from that is that the Earth is not stationary. No way would it detect the drift if the Earth was stationary. There is no explanation for it. The only explanation for what happens is that the Earth is moving. And as Bob showed, it's moving in 3 axes. And only a sphere can rotate in 3 axes at the same time.
Well, unless I program that thing myself, I can't assume that. I can't just
there's no assumptions.
Blindly believe something.
There's no assumptions.
How is it not? Did you program it? There's obviously programmed
Who programmed what is
programmed
relevant. They are designed to do a specific job that they have been demonstrated to do.
Programmed to do a specific job. You just said. So
Yeah,
if that
to measure.
chip is programmed to make that, how do you? Okay, it could be measuring, or it could just be programmed to.
Yeah,
to
but
do
the Earth
something.
could be
I
powered
don't
by
know,
unicorn farts. If we're just going to randomly speculate and ignore evidence, then it's very hard to have an.
But how do I know that's evidence? Is what I'm getting at. How do I know?
Because of what they're designed to do. They are designed to measure movement.
That sounds like an assertion, though.
No, it's
sounds
not
like
an
a presumption
assertion.
and an assertion.
You're saying that an assertion that a ruler is designed to measure is an assertion. No, a ruler is a tool just as much as a gyroscope is a tool.
A ruler is a physical device with no electronic programming whatsoever.
It doesn't matter.
You can't misconstrue that. You can't misinterpret that.
The only thing that this does is measure an interference pattern, and it's been demonstrated that interference pattern is there. In fact, give me one sec. A little bit later in that same video, I think I got Wolfie to show something. Where is it? Maybe it wasn't in that video. Right, anyway, it's been demonstrated that because Wolfie got one out of one of his drones and he put it onto a globe and moved the globe, and the gyroscope was registering that movement as it was supposed to do. If it was designed to randomly detect a drift, then it wouldn't have correlated to what he was doing. I thought it was in this video, but apparently not. I can find that video for you if you want, but it's on Wolfie 6020's channel, showing that gyroscopes do what they're supposed to do. Right? You can't just be like, oh well, it could be faked. Right? But the thing is that there is physical things that also measure rotation. Do you know what a gyrocompass is?
I want you to go explain it.
Okay, well, a gyrocompass is a physical device used for detecting true north.
Oh, right. Yeah, I've heard that.
I just need to find the video. Gyrocompass rotation. Because someone actually set it up. Someone built one, and here we go. That's the video I wanted. Right. So in this video, he's made a physical gyrocompass. It's got no electronic parts or anything, and he let it go for 24 hours and shows that it rotates like it would expect to. That's exactly what a gyrocompass should do if the Earth is rotating. So what's causing this? What is causing this? Is obviously sped up to show it, but what's causing this? If the Earth isn't rotating, that shouldn't be moving.
This is a bird's eye view. I don't know exactly what this is.
It's a gyrocompass. I'll just explain. It's a physical device.
Well, right, but yeah, okay. Well, what's
it detects the rotation of the Earth by knowing what true north is. It's a very simple thing, and there's no electronic parts in it. The whole thing is, it's physical.
There's a lot to this that you can't see. So how do I know this is legitimately?
I mean, you could build one yourself, and it would do the same thing. That's the thing. If you are claiming if you're claiming that it could be false, then you would have to demonstrate that to be the case. You would have to try and replicate what's happened and either falsify the results or come to the same conclusion.
You're right, and I'm trying to be intellectually honest here. And since I haven't done that, I can't just assume.
I want you to engage with the evidence. I want you to say, well, if that is picking up, that that is rotating, what would be the cause of that?
Well, sure. If that's what that truly is picking up, then sure, I'll have to try it out, analyze the results, and come to the conclusion myself. But if I'm not married to the flat Earth, right? I'm not gonna. If I'm proven wrong, that's fair enough. I'm proven wrong. I'm not gonna just. I'm not just gonna blindly stay with flat Earth forever. If that's what that is, and that's the only conclusion that could be deduced, then sure, I was proven wrong.
And that's the thing.
Or then that's what I proved.
All the stuff that I'm showing, the only conclusion that you get from the data is that the Earth's a globe and it's rotating. That's why I showed measurements that anyone can verify. It's not like these are a secret hidden. Anybody can verify the measurements that have been taken. And when I was talking about the surveyors and stuff, right? Surveyors from different points in time, from the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, have done massive surveying operations in the USA, India, Asia, Europe, Great Britain, and they all reach the same conclusion. I mean, they're not fudging the numbers, it's just the conclusion that they all reach. And can I ask you a question honestly? Have you ever seen a measurement that water is flat?
What do you mean by seeing a measurement that the water is flat?
Has anyone ever presented you with a measurement that is flat, that water's flat? You're saying, oh, well, water's naturally flat. Well, yeah, it's going to look like that if something's really big, but has anyone ever presented you with a measurement to say that the water is flat?
Well, I mean, I've gone to lakes, I've gone to the beach, I've sailed the Atlantic. I mean, what scale are you talking here? Of course, I've done a lot of this stuff myself.
Yeah, but refraction's a thing, right? And it's going to affect what we see.
Right.
And that's why we quantify what refraction is, and we try to work around that. But no one's ever presented you that flat earthers always say, oh, well, water's always flat and level. Well, I've never seen anyone measure that to be the case. There's ways of doing it, but it's never been done. And ways that we can know that water isn't flat is simple things like suspension bridges. The Verrazano-Narrows Bridge. You've ever heard of that?
I'm sure that's come up in arguments before. I've heard of a lot of bridges.
So it's a bridge in New York, and suspension bridges have to have plumb towers. Right? It's the way they're designed. They have to have a very delicate balance of forces, right? It kind of talks about it in this page. The towers have to be plumb so that it can balance the anchor cable and the cables that are under tension between the pillars, right? If they're leaning, it's going to create an uneven force and eventually break the towers. So the towers have to be exactly plumb. And the Verrazano-Narrows Bridge is so large that the actual curvature of the Earth is detectable with it. Now, we don't need to talk about the actual bridge. That's not so important. That's curving because that's how they built it. It's the towers, right? Knowing that both the towers are plumb, the interesting thing is that the main span of the Verrazano-Narrows Bridge is so long that the curvature of the surface has to be taken into account to design the towers. The tops of the towers are actually, I think it's 3 and 5 inches further apart than the bottom. And when you do the math, that's exactly what you should expect. So that is a direct observation of the fact that because it's over water, it's showing that this water is not completely flat. Because if it was, then the tops of these towers would be the same distance to each other as the bottom of the towers, but they're not. And this is something anybody can verify.
All right, yeah, then can we do that real quick? Can we pull up some the math and actually calculate that real quick on the screen for everyone?
I've actually got a page with the math, one sec. Where was it? Give me one sec, I did have the page.
And while you're pulling that up, I can go over the numbers that
for
the
ahead.
platform. Well, okay, so the land mass in the back should take up 0.3 degrees in your vision, and this is without zooming in, of course. And if the platforms are 283 meters from the surface of the water to the top of the platform, which they're not, it's going to be a lot smaller than that, maybe 60, 70 meters at most. But we'll assume that the platform is 283 meters off of the water, the top of it is. It would only take up 0.9 degrees, 0.95, so 0.31 and 0.95. So when you zoom in, no matter how much you zoom in, if the platforms are 283 meters above the water, the top of them is, then you should see the platform and you should see the island behind it 1/3 that size. Now, if the platform's not 283 meters above the water, the top of it, and I know it's not, then that means that if it's 100, the island would take up more of a percentage of what the platform takes up. So right now, assuming the platform's 283 meters at the top, the island should be 1/3 the size of the platform in that picture. You should see the island. There should be no reason. This should not be below your the Rayleigh criterion. The diffraction limit should not be below that.
How far did you say this was from the observer, the island?
It's 17,000 meters to the platform C, and it's 52,000 meters to the island behind platform C. The island behind platform C is 283 meters, has a peak of 283 meters. It's a small island, so most of the island should still be in the shot.
And what height would the observer have to be to see the island?
I did it with no observer height. I just did the mathematical
0
measurements I'm saying if you were to take it from a observer whose eye was on the ground, okay, looking out, and it doesn't matter if you raise it up. Yeah, it'd matter a little bit, I guess, but it won't matter too much if you raise up the observation 8 foot off the ground. But if the calculations I took were from ground level, no refraction included. We're just talking about a orthogonal look at this observation on a flat surface.
No refraction or atmospheric conditions taken into
No,
account?
just literally I just did the basic trigonometry that you would need to do to determine what angular size it would be.
All right. Well, if I could get to that spot, if all of us can get to that spot, somehow eliminate the atmosphere as a variable, then I might agree with you. But since the atmosphere is ever present,
you can't eliminate
I know
you can't
that's
eliminate
my point.
the atmosphere as variable, but that does not mean that the Earth is flat.
I think
no, I'm just saying
if you're
that
going to
means
use atmospheric refraction if you're going to use atmospheric refraction to say that that's the reason we're not seeing the island behind the platform, then why are you disputing the fact that when we say we do see the platform that should be hidden is due to atmospheric refraction? So you're saying you can't use it in one situation, but then again it explains why we're not seeing the other half of the observation that we should be seeing if what you're saying is correct. There's no reason for the light to not make it to the observer.
Well, I didn't use refraction as that argument. I also asked if there was any atmospheric conditions. That's not atmospheric conditions, or everything in the atmosphere isn't just refraction doesn't encompass everything like dust or something like that. It doesn't. You don't calculate dust in refraction. So if you can eliminate everything, get a clear view, sure, I might agree with you. You should be able to see straight through.
You said this was over water, right? I mean, there shouldn't be much dust or pollutants over water to see the island. I mean, you have no problem seeing the platform in front of you, but I need to know why. I need you to explain to me why you can see the platform in front of you, but you cannot see the island behind the platform. The platform is not 100 meters away. It's 17,000 meters away.
All right. I don't know. You're gonna have to prove that I'm gonna need to actually see that instead of just me proving why can't I.
Are you kidding me?
Because
light travels in straight lines. That's why. No, that's why. Because light travels in there. I've proven it to you. Now tell me why you can't see it.
I didn't realize this was a 2-on-1 debate. I thought you were just a moderator here.
Dude, I literally just told you guys I was pulling up the information on the observation
just
that
talking
you
about the
made.
one thing. Just talking about the one thing.
These are your observations. I'm just asking you questions about your
I'm
observations.
not the one claiming
that
you should
island behind.
I'm not the one claiming that you should that I should see the island behind it. You are. So if you're making that claim, you're going to need to back it up. And just citing math and just
it's only
saying
52.
that
It's
you
only 52
should,
kilometers
believing you
away.
should.
It's only 52 kilometers away. It's 283 meters tall. It should appear as 0.3 degrees in your vision. Or let me double check that. Yeah, 0.31 degrees in your vision. Those are just mathematical. That's what it is. It's going to appear using trigonometry. I can tell you that an object of this height at this distance is going to take up 0.3 degrees in my vision, okay? You don't see it there. Even when you zoom in and you make the platform to cover the whole screen, well, the island, the ratio of how big the island in the back to how big the platform in the front is doesn't change because you zoom in. When you zoom in, the platform gets big, the island gets big. The island should remain 1/3 the size if the platform is 283 meters at the top above the water. These are your observations. I'm simply pointing out the math here.
It goes back to what I was saying.
And if you're offended by my presence, I'll stop. Yeah, if you're offended by my presence, I'll stop interjecting. But you're wrong.
But it goes back to my point of why I don't.
But I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, mathematically, that's why it goes back to my point of why the black swan isn't an exclusive positive evidence for the flat Earth. Do you understand why I say that? Because it on our model, it is possible. It's something that can happen. Do you understand that, or
what? I'm looking at this refraction calculator. Curvature calculator.
It's a cool thing. I like the refraction thing. But anyway, you wanted to see the maths for why it should be 1 and 5/8 inches. It is right. The maths is pretty simple.
Yeah.
So we're taking the radius of the Earth, the ground length of the bridge, the height of the towers. We're looking for the angle. It's the length over the radius gives us 0.00002 radians. That's the angle from the center of the Earth. So we're looking for the difference in the distance, which is this. So we've got the length plus the difference equals the radius plus the height of the bridge towers times the angle, which when you do the top length increase over the bottom, gives you 1.67738 inches, which is 1 5/8 inches. So based on the math of Earth and the size of the bridge towers, that is what we would expect to see, and it is what you do see.
Didn't you say it was 3 and 5/8
sorry,
or something?
Yeah, sorry, I got it wrong. Sorry, it's 1 5/8 inches, which is exactly what you expect to see. If we do the maths based on basic kind of trigonometry, that's what we should see. If assuming the Earth's a sphere and both of the towers are plumb to the center of Earth, then this distance at the top should be 1 and 5. The difference is 1 5/8. So L plus the difference is 1 5/8 inches.
1 5/8.
Yeah.
Okay. Did it? Hold on. You said okay. You said that they needed to be plumb.
Yeah.
And then did you say that this 1 5/8 was calculated beforehand, or did they just simply let it hang plumb? And then constructed as that, and then it just happened to match up.
It just happened to be when it was all measured. It just happened that was the case. They had to take into account the Earth's curvature because the design of the bridge had to take into account that the things weren't perfectly plumb. No suspension bridge is going to have towers that are perfectly plumb, but most aren't as bridge as the Verrazano-Narrows Bridge. It's the fact that it was so big and the fact that you had that difference, they then had to take that into account when connecting the actual, the road and public walkways of the bridge. Which is part of the reason why the bridge is curved like it is, because it had to take into account the fact that, in perspective, the towers were leaning away from each other. But yeah, suspension bridges need to be plumb. They need to have the towers be perfectly plumb, because it's a very delicate balance of forces between, you've got the anchor cables at the backs, and obviously the cables that are under tension that are in between. And if the forces aren't balanced, then you're going to end up having problems. It's going to cause fatigue and stress on the towers. So they have to be plumb. Otherwise, the bridges won't last. They wouldn't be as secure as they are. Any questions?
Not at the moment. I'll have to. I mean, obviously, one conversation between you and I is not going to sway either one of us. I'll have to look at some of the information that you. Can you actually DM me some of this information that you presented?
Absolutely, 100%. And if you're willing to take the information and look at it, in my opinion, that puts you ahead of most flat earthers, right? This isn't a dig at you, right? This is a dig at flat earthers. Most flat earthers don't want to know the information. They just reject it for some arbitrary reason, and I don't need to look at your stupid globe proof. I've dismissed it. I've debunked it. Haha, I win. You are being honest enough that you want to look at it, and I give you respect for that. So, fair play.
Thank you.
Now, one of the other things you brought up was the astroblade. And I explained to you that they work because the Earth's a globe. What do you think about
that? Well, when the first ones were created in 3 or 5 5th century BC, I don't remember them assuming that the Earth was a globe when they created it. And if they still hold up to today, I don't really see that as it working exclusively because it was a globe, because they assumed the flat Earth upon its creation.
I don't think upon the creation of the astroblade they assumed anything. They simply mapped out what they saw and tried to represent that in a locally usable device. So the mapping of it, depended on the fact that sailors had been out and observed the fact that these constellations appear to change in the sky and go towards the horizon and get compressed as you go to certain areas, right? And whether they probably didn't assume anything, but it probably went towards helping them realize that the Earth was a globe. Now, when you look at how astrolabes work, and you map out the functions of what they're doing, they show a sphere. Like, for instance, when you are looking at a particular constellation, every 69 miles you move, that constellation will change in angular size by 1 degree and get more and more distorted, right? And that only happens if the Earth's a globe. If the Earth was flat, for every 69 miles, that angle would have to be increasingly more and more and more, rather than staying at 1. Because the Earth's a sphere, the angle can match the distance travelled, because the Earth has a pretty much uniform curvature. If the Earth was flat, the further you got away from, based on perspective, something in the sky, every 6-9 miles would be more and more of an angle each time, right? But that's not what we see happen represented in an astroblade or on a sextant.
Well, the reason what I believe that to be is, like, if you like the same reason why you see why the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere see different faces of the moon. Well, same face, just rotated a different way, right? Like it tilted a certain. Well, okay, so if you put the stars in, like, the moon, or any picture in the middle of your ceiling, right? You stand in one corner of your room. You're looking at the picture in the very center of the ceiling, and then you walk across and turn around and look at it again. You're going to see it from 2 different angles, right?
Uh-huh.
So, and if you walk across there, once you get into the very middle, obviously you're going to see it as you're going to be able to see that and the rest of the ceiling. But when you look at it from one angle or from one side, like at the very corner, you're going to see that side of the room's ceiling a lot easier than you're going to see the other side. Now, if the Earth is contained with some sort of dome structure, or some sort of like crystalline structure or whatever, I'm not sure if that's what it is. Could be anything. I don't know. But it's there seems to be a phenomenon where you can actually create this with a half dome glass. You put it over a picture, and you see one side of it. Like if you put it over a star trail, so you actually see it one side of it in a like hemicircle sort of on one side, and the other side of it you see another circle separated in the middle, like
the problem
like an
with,
equator type thing.
Yeah, the problem with that is the demonstration shows like a dome sitting on top of something with a light looking on the outside, which isn't
right
a representation of what any flat earther has told me is the case. And also that's what you would view from the outside.
On the inside.
On the inside, you're actually going to be seeing a completely different thing. And the fact that that's a solid dome, which we know isn't the case. So from the inside, that's not what you would see. That's only from the outside, because from the outside it's like a complete convex thing, isn't it? But from the inside, it would be solid but concave. So it's going to, it's not really the correct analogy, and it doesn't explain why on Earth we see, for instance, if we look at, I'm not assuming that you say this is the right map, right? But just saying that this is a standard flat Earth, okay?
General representation, sure.
Yeah. So say the sun was at the bottom of Africa here, right? Yeah. On the flat Earth, it kind of shows that in reality, there's pretty much a straight line across it, right? The Terminator line is pretty much a straight line across the Earth. Now, if the sun is on the bottom of Africa here, and we look at reality and we say there's a sharp line, that means that the light traveling from the bottom of Africa to one edge would stop arbitrarily, even though it's traveled further than the light from Africa going towards the middle, which doesn't make sense. There's no reason why the light would arbitrarily cause that Terminator line, but have to travel different distances based on its position relative to the Terminator line. So I don't think the dome argument helps, and one of the main reasons why I don't think the dome argument helps is because there's zero evidence that there's a dome or any kind of physical container.
Well, gas pressure has to have a container.
What gas pressure?
You can't have gas pressure without a container.
We don't have gas pressure. We simply, it's a simple case of physics. We don't have gas pressure, but there's a gradient. That's all we have. That's all we ever claim. We're not saying there is gas pressure next to a vacuum. Nobody says that. We just say that there's a gradient. We are in a high pressure, and we know there's a gradient, and it goes up to a low pressure. That's all that we claim, and that's caused because we know there's a downward acceleration. So sorry, go on.
How do you have a pressure gradient without a cause for the pressure?
But there is a cause. That's the thing. When flat earthers say we need a container, you're kind of right. But the container is the fact that there is a downward acceleration acting on everything. Every single thing has a downward acceleration on Earth acting on it of approximately 9.8 meters per second squared, right? The container is... That's
an observation.
Yeah.
It's an observation, not a measurement of acceleration, or not a measurement of a force. It's an observation.
No. We know F equals ma. So there's an acceleration, which means there's a force, right? So that acceleration that's acting downwards needs a force in the opposite direction to escape it, right? We know that there's that force. Nobody can deny that there is a downward acceleration acting on. The container...
What's that force?
Well, that's irrelevant. what the force is. We know that's an observable fact. We don't need to get into what that force is. We know that there is a downward acceleration. Nobody can deny that exists, right? And that downward acceleration means energy is needed to go in the opposite direction. And gas particles only have so much energy. So they don't have the energy needed to escape that downward acceleration. That's what's causing the gradient. And we know there's a force there because there's an acceleration. F equals ma. But what that force is entirely irrelevant to the discussion. That's a completely other discussion about what gravity is. But we know that downward acceleration exists. So to escape that acceleration, you require more energy. And say you've got a balloon, right, that's got gas pressure inside it. That gas pressure is pretty uniform inside that balloon. You pop that balloon, and all those particles are going to instantly disperse, but only so much as they have kinetic energy. Once the kinetic energy from the initial expansion is gone, those gas particles are going to start reacting. Well, they never stop reacting to gravity, but there's no
they've
force.
Become.
So the energy
it's created an equilibrium with the surrounding.
Yeah, and because there's a downward acceleration actually and everything, and the energy that acted against the force has dispersed, then the gases will, go down and create the gradient that we know exists. So, that's why we don't need a dome. There doesn't have to be a physical container because we know there's an acceleration acting on everything, which means energy is required to go in the opposite direction.
Okay, well, can we replicate this on Earth?
What replicate what in particular?
If you need a force to hold the gradient without a container, if you don't need the container, all you need is this force, then we're gonna need to test that on Earth. We're gonna need to find a way to.
Gravity has been measured many times. We could talk about
gravity's not a force, though.
It absolutely acts as an emergent. Well, the emergent force is caused by gravity, right? We call gravity a force because there's an acceleration acting downwards, and an acceleration needs a force. So when we say the force of gravity, we're not saying gravity is a force. We're saying the force is caused by gravity. The cause of gravity isn't really the discussion of this argument. That's a discussion for another time that I'm willing to have. But we know there's a force there because it's calculable. There's an acceleration, right?
And what if that force is equally present and possible on a flat Earth?
Then there would need to be an explanation for what that is. Don't
you also need an explanation? You just said
we do have an explanation. That's the thing. We do have an explanation, right? But the interesting reason, one of the reasons why it can't exist on the flat Earth is because on the globe, because of the fact the globe's rotating. Again, this is something that happens because the globe is rotating. You weigh less at the equator than you do at the poles. You actually weigh about 0.5% more at the poles than you do at the equator. There's two reasons for that. Number one, the equatorial radius is slightly larger, about 46 miles larger than the polar radius. So you're further away from the center of Earth. And the fact that at the equator you have a tangential velocity of 1,000 miles per hour, which gives you centrifugal force equal to about 0.5% the effect of gravity. So it's a fact that industries have to work around, that there is different gravitational accelerations based on where you are on the Earth. For instance, gold. When you're mining gold, you can't. If you mined a bunch of gold at the equator, right, and then you didn't get it weighed and you just went north and had it sold there, you could make more money because the scales have to be calibrated locally, right? So if you mine gold somewhere, it has to be weighed on locally calibrated scales based on the local gravitational acceleration. 1 kilogram, which is a mass, will weigh more at the poles. It will have more force acting on it at the poles than it does at the equator. Its mass doesn't change, but its weight, so pounds and ounces, that would be 1 kilogram would weigh slightly more in pounds and ounces at the poles than it does at the equator. So we know there's a force because these things happen.
I don't deny there's a force. There's something acting on everything. Of course, we have that rate of acceleration is obviously in observation of that. I'm not convinced it's that it's gravity. However, you might be able to call it gravity.
I mean, you can call it what you want. It is irrelevant, really, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Wait, have you heard of the electric universe?
Yeah,
and the Thunderbolts project.
A lot of problems with the electric universe, especially when trying to replace gravity with electricity and magnetism and stuff, because of course different objects will have different accelerations based on what they're made of. If gravity, for instance, was because of an electromagnetic force, a block of steel would accelerate faster than a block of wood, but we don't see that. If we take a kilogram of steel and a kilogram of wood, they have exactly the same mass and weight and accelerate towards the Earth at the same time. But if it was because of magnetism or electromagnetism, then the steel would accelerate faster and have more of a force acting on it. And we don't see that happening. Also, you would float in a Faraday cage, which is an interesting thing. And we definitely don't see that happening.
Float in a Faraday cage? Where did you get that?
Well, if we're saying...
that would be interesting, yeah. I would like to see that, though.
If we're saying that gravity is an electromagnetism or something, right, then that means that if we're in a Faraday cage, which is designed to block out EM fields and stuff, we wouldn't have that gravitational accelerator acting on us, and we would float. But you don't float in a Faraday cage, which is evidence that it's not some kind of electromagnetism.
Well, with things having like static electricity, like balloons don't have any metal or anything, or cotton doesn't have any metal or anything like that. So there's obviously dielectric properties. Everything's got to be some level of dielectric to have that static field.
So, I mean, atoms every atom has an electrical charge. You know, they all have electrons. So to some degree, everything's got an electrical field of some kind, right? But
of course,
that's the forces that we know things generate isn't large enough to do the things that gravity does. So there's for instance, there's electrostatic voltmeters. You know, we can measure the ambient electrostatic charge in the air and stuff, and the maths doesn't work out. It literally could not be a replacement for gravity. Helium balloons rise because of buoyancy, but that's because there's a downward force. And the main point of all this, we've kind of gone off a little bit of a tangent, but the main point is that there isn't a physical container required, purely because we know that downward acceleration exists. What it is kind of irrelevant. We know it exists, so we don't have to have a physical container.
I'd like to set up some sort of experiment where I create this downward force without a container.
Well,
anyway, you said that it was possible before, right?
Yeah. Well, we know the gravitational acceleration between masses exists because that's there I don't have the video there. Give me 1 second. There we go. That's the video. I should always have this one programmed in, but I forget to leave it there. All right, give me 1 second. I'll get up a quick video. Right. Audio would help.
On each end of the bar, we put there weigh a small lead ball. First, we weigh a small lead pyramid to measure the force of attraction between it and the Earth. Its weight is 152.166 grams. Now we move the heavy lead ball under the scale, adding its mass to the mass of the Earth. The weight has increased by 1/1000th of a gram, which represents the attraction between the pyramid and the ball. When the mass under the pyramid got bigger, the force of attraction did too.
And that goes back
to... ball under the scale.
That goes back to what I was saying about you weigh more when there's more gravitational attraction, right? Now, we're not saying that it literally increased by 1/1000th of a gram. It wouldn't have been anywhere near that. It was just enough for it to tick over. What that demonstrates is that mass causes the downward acceleration, right? That is the experiment and one of the experiment demonstrations that we can do to show that what we're saying is correct. The fact that there is a mass that causes the force to be bigger, or at least causes the force to be there, demonstrates our point. Right? So we can manipulate gravity by increasing the mass, and I think that shows quite nicely that the downward acceleration is there, and it can be manipulated and tested. Obviously, you can't take a ball, like I couldn't take this globe and show gas clinging to it, because the mass simply isn't big enough. Right? You need a mass as big as Earth to be able to demonstrate that. And unless you've got a handy planet lying around, that's just simply not something that we can do. But we can test that gravitational attraction. We can test if it's there. We can manipulate it, you know. And I think that is all that's needed to get rid of the notion that there is a dome or a physical container required. I'd like your thoughts on that.
I don't. The problem that I've always had with this, and you actually just said it, is that you need a mass big enough, as big as the planet, in order to measure it. So you can measure it on this microscopic level, right? And you can measure it on this planetary scale, but you can't measure it anywhere in between. Like you can't create this gradient, and unless you have such a planetary size of mass to form this downward force that creates any sort of gradient pressure-wise.
Actually, we can. We can test it based on Earth, right? The higher you are, the less your gravitational acceleration is. The gravitational acceleration at the top of Everest is slightly less than it is at the bottom. So you can test that even on Earth. You can see that there can be a gradient to the gravitational acceleration based on the amount of mass underneath you and the distance.
But how is that exclusive to a globe?
Because
why can't there be something?
When you add up all the gravitational vectors, right? This is the important thing. When you add up all the gravitational vectors, they all point to a center, a radius, a sphere. There is no explanation for gravity on a flat Earth, and there's a lot of problems with gravity on a flat Earth. We know that gravity is caused by mass attracting mass, and if the Earth was flat and gravity existed, then the center of the disk would have more gravitational attraction than the outer edges of the disk. As you got...
Would it though?
Yeah, it would. Because it's all towards the center, and as you got further away from the center, you would basically be going uphill. So gravity wouldn't work on a flat disk the way that we understand it and observe it to be.
Well, then there's got to be some other explanation, right? There's got to be a different way to see it rather than just seeing it as.
But we have an explanation of
saying
what it
this is what.
That's the thing.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You have an explanation.
General relativity has been tested and verified, right? You know, it's an experimentally proven area of science. We know relativity is real, and we know it governs the universe in the way that Einstein predicted that it should. So those things have been tested. Oh, space-time, yeah. All part of relativity.
Well, can we test? Yeah, can we test space-time on Earth? How do you test space-time?
With GPS. It
relies
relies on relativity. based on the
No,
speed.
no, it doesn't.
No, it absolutely does.
Okay,
based on the speed that satellites are traveling, and the time dilation that would be caused because of that, it all has to be taken into account. And GPS satellites are an excellent demonstration that relativity is a real thing.
Satellites. Okay. Are you familiar with this this instrument in World War II called the Loran system?
Yeah. Very local use. Was nothing like GPS at all.
Well, I mean, it was able to pick up from the East Coast all the way to Germany. So
it certainly wasn't a global positioning system. It was local. It was nothing.
Okay, well,
it was nothing like.
Yeah, well, if you set up.
Let me get the actual specs up for it.
All right. Well, if you set up the Loran system, like if you like a station, like HUD, right? Well, set those up all over the place. There would be no reason for it.
Team has a bit more knowledge on that. Would you mind if he talked to you briefly about the Loran system and stuff?
I don't know, man. He's pretty triggered by my presence, so I don't want to make him leave. Oh. And you know me, I can't really hold a polite conversation with anybody. So.
I'm not being condescending, am I? Please
don't do it. Shout out to the Rumpus, he's out there.
Okay.
I'm not being condescending, am I? I would expect the same, please.
Would you mind if Team explained to you how it works?
Well, earlier I interjected with just a tad bit of math, just to give you an idea of what you were looking at, and you felt pretty upset about that, and I just don't. It's a pretty productive conversation right now, and I have a totally different tactic. Now, I wasn't even paying attention, so what's the question?
He was asking about the Loran system.
Yeah, comparing it to GPS. I've heard you talk before about how very different they were.
It's very different. The GPS was from what?
The Loran system that they used in World War II, the precursor for it.
Oh, I've never talked about the Loran system.
You not?
I have no idea what that is. No.
I'm sure.
No, I don't know how they used navigation in World War II. I didn't. I mean, could be knowledge on it or be educated on it by the next time, but I'd never heard of that. So.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Sorry. No worries then, Team. From what I understand, though, it's very, it's local. It's not global, and they actually weren't 100% accurate. Right? GPS can literally track you within inches of where you are. The Loran system could be off by like 30, 40 miles quite often.
Well, yeah, that was also the 40s.
Yeah, but it certainly.
I mean, technology has increased since then.
This is a lot. This is a lot of the stuff. I just looked it up. Okay, you're talking about the Lorenz beam.
Yeah.
Blind landing radio navigation system. Yeah, that's exactly what I worked on in the military. It isn't called a Lorenz. We don't call it a Lorenz beam in the military. I don't think so, but I don't think anymore. But it is a blind landing radio navigation system. It's a beacon that it's tuned to a certain frequency. So when you're flying a plane, you basically know the 5 airports in front of you, the 5 radar beacons in front of you, and you can use those radar beacons to continue going towards the airport that you want to go to. But it has a limited range.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I was saying I don't think it's an answer to what GPS.
It's nothing but a radar beacon. It's a radar beacon. Yeah, it's a radar beacon.
Okay, I didn't bring that up to say like all we need is Loran system. Right? I was using that as like a stepping stone towards, like you said, that was a precursor to GPS, and they didn't use
in
satellites for that.
No, it's not. Okay, it's not necessarily a precursor to GPS. What it is it's an alternate way of navigating. So they don't have anything to do with one another.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I'm messing up my words a little bit, but that's basically what I was saying. Like, just because it was, I don't mean it was like directly the precursor. I mean the technology was could be used for navigation. Like that wasn't its primary purpose, right? But I'm just saying that like that could have been the technology allowed it to be used as such. Now, if you take that, add 80 years, right? I guess you could create something with that might not need satellites, especially since that didn't have satellites back then for its use. I don't see that that being too far of a logical leap.
Well, GPS requires satellites. It requires a network of satellites, actually.
What about the undersea cables that are used for like 80% of our telecommunications?
Yeah, they can emit signal to triangulate your position. They're underwater cables that carry data between positions. The point about GPS is it's a positioning system because it triangulates your position. It's got to have, I think, at least 3 satellites that see you at a time, right? And when you triangulate the position of these satellites, you notice, number 1, they're in space, and number 2, they're going extremely fast. Airplanes have GPS receivers on the top, not the bottom, so it can't be any kind of ground-based thing. GPS comes from satellites, and GPS satellites... I'm changing those statements just a sec.
Sorry, my alien father and mother is trying to call me right now. It's bringing in some interstellar static. I do apologize.
So yeah.
Shout out to Jessica G.
GPS is satellites. There kind of is no argument about what GPS is, really. And it demonstrates.
I respectfully disagree.
I mean, you would have to present some evidence otherwise. You know,
I just gave you the Lorentz system as
yeah, but that doesn't work. That is a limited point-to-point system, right? It's not something that everybody in the world can use to pinpoint their exact position on the globe. And the fact that, like I said, airplanes have GPS receivers on the top, not the bottom, show that it cannot be a ground-based system. The signal is coming from space. Really, really, really high
hold on.
space.
Well, there's a way that you can receive signals from the top. It's called tropospheric ducting. Ham radio operators have used it before the moon landings. So it's, of course, very possible to receive signals on top of the airplane. That's not even illogical to think otherwise. Or, sorry, I worded that wrong.
That would be very specific wave bands, and GPS doesn't use those kind of wave bands like radio waves like that. There is simply, when you triangulate the position of the satellites, I mean, you can literally track the satellites on an app. And when you triangulate the positions of where the signals are coming from, I mean, anybody can track the signals where they're coming from. They show they're all coming from up there, every single one of them. And that they're moving at a speed that is impossible for them to be on the ground. I mean, you can't have ground-based systems that are constantly moving at extremely high velocities, can you?
I don't think they are. Well, of course, they're not going to be moving, but you don't have to. You don't need them to be moving.
You can track them as moving, though.
The satellites?
Yeah. Anybody can track the satellites with an app. And then you can, if you wanted to verify where the signals are coming from, you could point them in the position in the sky that the app says that they are. I mean,
they could, sure, some of them could be,
hey, look,
they could be moving, but what?
May I offer a suggestion?
Yeah.
To Mad Philosopher, I'm not going to try to be a dickhead anymore, because you do actually seem like you're being pretty cool, and you know, other than that first part at the time, and that's what kind of got me set off in the last one, but I want to give you just a suggestion right here, because you seem like the type of person that would go out and actually try to figure something out. So I'm going to give you an easy-ass demonstration you can do for yourself. There's a website called dishfinder.com, okay? Now what you do, this is a website that's used by people all across the United States. I'm not sure if they use it outside of the United States. However, you can use it outside of the United States because it'll tell you the position of any disk or any satellite relative to your position on Earth, okay? So what
Dishfinder or Dishpointer?
You can go and say, it may be Dishpointer, Dishfinder, Dishpointer, one of the two. But several companies use this to tell you how to find their disk or their satellite in the sky so you can get their signal. Dish Network, DirecTV, all of these things, okay? So So it's reliable. That's why I'm telling you to use this, because these are people who don't have any part of this argument of flat or globe. You know, and I'm not talking about dish pointer. I'm talking about the people that use it. They just need their television signal. So if the Earth is flat and a satellite point is in one position in the sky, then what you should be able to do is you should be able to take different readings from different points on the Earth. Now, because the Earth is large, and whether it's flat or globe, it's large, you're not going to get much of a difference. So let's say you travel 69 degrees or 69 miles, you may only get a degree difference of about 1 degree. So go and make about 5 points. Take about 5 points on the Earth that are within driving distance of you. Spend a day doing this. Go get you a satellite. It's going to take some equipment, because you're going to need like a satellite that's capable of reading it, and is something that tells you, or is capable of capturing the signal. And you're also going to need something to tell you what your signal strength is. So, because that's kind of like what the Lorentz beam is. When you're aiming directly at the satellite strength will be a lot stronger than if you're a half a degree off, for instance. You might still get the satellite a little bit, but it might not be enough to bring in your TV signal. And that's what people do, is when they're setting up their satellites, they watch the TV as they're pointing the satellite in the sky at the point where dish pointer says, and then it says, oh, you're getting 60% signal, 65, 70, 75, 95, 100, 95. Oh, you went too far. Turn it back a little bit. 95, 97, 98, 100, 99. You know what I'm saying? And they just make minor adjustments until it says 100. Now, when it says 100, you know that it's pointing directly at the satellite. So if you go and you take the azimuth and the elevation of every position that you plot out, you should be able to derive what the shape of the Earth is, what the shape of the surface is that you're on from just those points. If it's flat, it'll give you one reading. If it's a globe, it'll give you a totally different reading. And you yourself can do this. Anybody can do this.
All right, fair enough. I will look into that. See if anyone can come up with any arguments on my side.
And if you need any help, if you need any help with that, reach out to me. If you need any help, reach out to me. I will help you set it up. I'll give you some suggestions on points to take from your location. Whatever you need, just let me know. I will help you to make that observation.
Sure. Actually, great. Thanks. I would love to. I love the idea of globe earthers and flat earthers getting together to do observations or conduct experiments, because then you can truly get unbiased results. If you only have one group doing it or the other group doing it, I mean, obviously there's going to have a little bit of bias bleed over. But yeah, of course, I would love to.
Now, also, so you can look at Sly Sparkane's channel. He has he did this this worldwide data collection, which was just a bunch of people making measurements. I think of the sun, right? Solar noon, is that correct, Craig? Is that was Sly Sparkane's? It was solar noon. Solar noon from different people around the globe, or around the Earth. We'll say. I don't want to oppress you with my beliefs. Around the Earth, they all took the measurement, and it legitimately. Hey, go look at it. The flat Earth. There were flat earthers who partook in this experiment, and it was simply to
What is it called again?
To take all these different data points. I'm not sure what the name of the video is. It's on Sly Sparkane's channel.
Give me a sec. I'll just go and grab that.
Yeah, please. Fight's played it before. Fight, if you'll just play that for a moment, just to kind of give him an idea, because it's exactly the same thing as the dish pointer experiment, except for one can be done by one person, another one has to be done by many people. And because these satellites are geostationary, they remain over a single point over the Earth at all times. That's why, like, you don't have to constantly go out and change your satellite or your dish. So if the Earth is flat and stationary, then the satellite's just in one position. If the Earth is actually rotating, then the satellite is rotating with the Earth to stay above the position. So that's where you can't really get rotation from these measurements, but you can absolutely get the shape of the surface of the Earth, or the surface that you're standing on. But one person can do this.
All right. You said it's on this some guy's channel?
Yes, this is on Sly Sparkane's channel right here.
Hold on, I'm not getting the.
Fight, you wanna? Yeah, fight. Slow
Sorry.
down so you can walk him through what's going on. He doesn't.
Sorry, I thought I didn't realize I was muted there. My bad. Right, yeah. So Slice Arcane, he I'll just get to the point. Right. So what he did was he at Solar
Oh, I'm
Noon,
sorry, I wasn't looking at the video. I'm sorry.
At Solar Noon, he got people all around the world to measure their the angle of sun at Solar Noon, right? So, and then plotted that on a flat plane based on the latitude, right? And when he mapped them all out, it looked like this, right? There's quite a few. He goes through all of them, so you can check the video and verify it all. But then when he gets to the end and he maps them all out, what he finds is that if the Earth was flat, none of the lines kind of meet at the same place, meaning you would get conflicting positions for the sun based on the angle. But based purely on the latitude, he then plotted that onto a globe, exactly the same latitude as it would be, and when plotted onto a globe, it showed that all the light rays came in parallel and pointed to the same position in the sky. And that is worldwide experimental evidence that the shape of the Earth is a sphere and that the sun is far away. If the Earth was flat, based on empirical observations, the sun should appear in different positions in the sky for everybody. That's not what we experience in reality. What we experience in reality is that the sun rays come in parallel, just like you get if you map the exact angles that were given to him onto a globe. It's very similar to what Eratosthenes did, a few thousand years ago. It's pretty much a globe killer, really. What do you think?
I don't think I've seen that video all the way through.
I'll send you links to everything that we've talked about tonight. But it's starting to get on. So why don't we go on to Super Chat to see if there's any questions, and then we can finish for tonight. I do want to say thank you. It's been a decent conversation, which is always nice. Before we move on,
I do want to say there was something that was said earlier that I do want to address, so that he can get an understanding of certain things. You did point out that over water you are going to have a tendency to have a flatter surface, which is correct. If you look generally at the shape of the Earth, you have even just minor little rolling hills inside of a city. To your elevation, those are going to be higher than waves, So you're absolutely right when you say that it's a flatter surface to take a measurement over water, but there's also severe refraction over water. So this is why you will find that observations over water are going to tend to give you the results that you're looking for. If you're looking for results that are going to show you objects that are beyond a geometric horizon, then your best bet is to go to the ocean and look out over a large distance of water, because that's where you're going to get the most refraction, therefore you're going to see the furthest. This is why what he was talking about when surveyors, when geodesic surveyors, they literally, they measure out the Earth, and they have a science behind it, and those measurements always, every single time, point to an Earth that's shaped like a globe. Otherwise, their entire scientific field, their entire professional field would all be worthless.
I've seen pictures of surveyors that were talking about how they don't calculate, or they don't calculate curve in their observations. I haven't actually
Oh no, they don't need to calculate curve. Curve is just what happens.
So
when they
observations.
Yeah, from the observations. There's a thing called spherical excess that I was pointing you to. Every triangle that they measure has the angles add up to greater than 180 degrees, which is impossible if the Earth is flat. So they don't need to they don't adjust for it or take it into account because it's just what they're measuring.
Yeah, they observe it.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry.
Jesse Kozlowski. Go watch it. Go watch a few of his videos. He's a land surveyor that's also a YouTuber. So he has a lot of videos that are out that explain his observations, explain how his measurements are taken. He shows where there's drop. I mean, you can go and disagree with it. I'm not saying you must agree with everything he says. You can disagree with him, but he is a professional land surveyor.
And I just want to shout out to one of the douchebag flat earths in the chat, who unfortunately has a name that is a good name, Craigumtree. Craig is a good name. You've ruined it. You're douche. You are literally. You're like, oh, I don't want to debate you, but come and meet me face to face, and it won't be a debate. You're not equipped. So basically, your answer to an intellectual debate is, no, I'm going to fight you behind the school shed. You're a typical little bully that I dealt with all my life and ended up smashing. So don't act like the big man if you can't bring that to say it to my face. All right?
Oh, let me tell you something. I challenged that guy in the chat earlier to be dumber than Hip Hop Hippie. Okay? Because Hip Hop Hippie is a pile of stupid shit, right?
Yeah.
So to be dumber than him takes effort. Craig Imagery was not even close. Like, he doesn't even get close to the stupidity that Hip Hop Hippie says.
No, he's just a little
and Hip Hop
baby.
Hippie's in the chat, too. Like, Hip Hop Hippie went silent when he realized that I was going to be using his fucking comments as a marker on whether or not Craig Imagery was stupid enough or not. So then Hip Hop Hippie went silent. He's back to the old, oh, Southern Israelite destroyed you. Yeah, Southern Israelite is gone. He ran away. He disappeared. Yeah. He hid. He won Dumb Fuck of the Year. I stumped that dude live when I asked him one simple question. Why does ice semi-submerge? He had no explanation. He can explain to you the entire shape of the earth. He can make you fucking be this... You are totally religiously devoted to Southern Israelite, and he can't even explain to you why ice cubes sink halfway down. All you guys are fucking morons. Craig Imagery, you and Hip Hop Hippie need to go start a fucking group together. Y'all should meet up in real life and prove science wrong by mating and successfully having the stupidest baby on Earth.
Craig Imagery, I dare you to come and say it to my face. I'm a disabled military veteran, but if you want to try and arrange a fight with me, we'll see how well that goes, I guess. Just shows the kind of person you are. We've got a genuinely nice guy who's come on to have an actual intellectual discussion, and honestly, the Mad Philosopher, you're probably one of the most intellectually honest flat earthers that I've ever come across. You're willing to listen, you're accepting of answers, and it's been the complete change of pace. So
I appreciate it.
And Craig Imagery, you are the exact opposite side. You are just a horrible little bully who has nothing to back up anything that you would ever say. You wouldn't dare come and say it to my face. You wouldn't dare. You're just a big mouth little idiot who sits in the chat acting all big because you're there. You wouldn't dare come and debate me live, and you wouldn't dare come and say it to my face, because neither would go well for you. Before we move on to super chats and question and answer, Mad Philosopher, is there any questions you have about anything that's been said tonight, or any other points you'd like to bring up?
Not exactly, other than, well, you already said you're going to send me all the information that you guys have discussed. I would love to get together with a couple of globe earthers and set up maybe an experiment or an observation. If you guys have anyone in mind, I would love to do the same.
Cool. I mean, if you join my Discord,
what part of the country are you in? What part of the country do you live in? You don't have to give away your exact place, but what part of the country
East
do you live
Coast.
in? East Coast.
I'm in Virginia.
Yeah, we got a lot of East Coasters out there that would help you out.
Yeah,
Not too bad. Yeah, we got a lot of East Coasters that would probably meet up with you and help you, help you make. Even if not meet up with you, I'm sure they would coordinate with you to take different readings from different spots and give you their data. I mean, it's really when you're talking about measuring something that's this big, you really gotta, you can't really just go 1 kilometer and go, okay, I'm gonna measure from here to and expect this hugely different result. You'll get a different result, but it might be so minute that your equipment might not be, sensitive enough to really be able to determine the difference, like, a couple of arc seconds or a couple of arc minutes of degrees. If your equipment's not set up to handle that, then you simply can't make a measurement that's only 1 kilometer away. You have to go, 50, 60 miles away, 100 miles away. But it's still doable. It's still doable for one person to do. For any one person can go out there and do this experiment.
But if you want to join both mine and team's Discords, we'll make sure you get invites. There's lots of globe earthers in there that will happily assist you with any experiment you'd like to do. Because trust me, they love nothing more than proving flat earthers wrong. Right, but let's start reading the super chats. So we started with Crafty Keela for €2. Have fun, folks. Sending love and respect to all. What are you laughing at?
Oh, fucking A, man. So I've started telling people to send me images on my Reddit, and J.L. Warren just put in a meme.
Is that what you sent me earlier, J.L. Warren?
I'll show it in a second.
Right, yeah, Crafty Keela for €2 says, have fun, folks, sending love and respect to all. We love you, Crafty Keela. And then Glass Monster for $2 Canadian says, can I come on tonight? Not tonight, buddy. We have a sub-stream at some point, don't worry. And Glass Monster for $2 Canadian says, team has to wear a thong next. When you asked what you should wear next.
Yeah, because I said... Yeah, when I said what should I wear next, and no, I shouldn't have said that. I forgot these guys voted mankini for the fucking first one. I should have never, ever let them pick my... Then, like, when I asked them what video they want to see, nobody wants to see a debunk video. Hell no. They want to see fucking Team Skeptic in a mankini dancing to I Will Always Love... Or taking it off slowly to I Will Always Love You by either Dolly Parton or the Bobby Brown's wife, whatever her name was.
Basic Trigonometry for £2 says, I bet the Morgile uses inverted controls. What kind of fucking savage uses inverted controls?
This savage over here, bro.
Get the fuck out.
I even picked up the PlayStation last night. Yeah. Hey,
you should dress up as Frankenfurter.
I was going to call you...
Wait, what's that?
I almost called you Philosopher of Madness. I'm sorry.
You should dress up as Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, this monster. Inverted controls.
That would make J.L. Warren happy.
I thought we were friends.
Okay, Mad Philosopher, do you play any video games at all?
Yeah, every now and
then. Do you play first-person shooters?
Yeah, a little bit. I started getting into Call of Duty Mobile recently. Before
mobile.
That,
but
I haven't really played,
I use inverted controls.
I don't think that could be your
Okay,
friend
here's a question. Here's a question. All right, if you're looking at somebody and there's somebody who's at a higher elevation, do you tilt the phone back to look up or do you push the phone down to look up?
What the hell? I don't do either.
Like if you're, let's say you're center screen, right, and you're looking at someone else's head who's standing in front of you, and there's a helicopter over his head, and you now want to look at the helicopter and put it in the center of the screen of your phone. Do you tilt the phone up to look at the helicopter? Is it, well, first off, is it based on the...
No, it's got controls on the screen.
On the tilt. Never mind.
Yeah, no, I don't have...
Can't do anything with controls.
But no, team, you're a monster. I bet you're the kind of savage that puts milk in...
I use inverted controls.
Aren't you?
Yeah. I use inverted controls. I'm a fucking moron. I'm an idiot. Dang.
Inverted controls are only okay for flying. Fuck's sake. Nelio for £5 says, Team Skeptic, have at least 2 to 3 meats involved on the pineapple pizza, like meatballs, bacon and ham, or else it doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm gonna do, I'm doing ham, Canadian bacon, and sausage with pineapples and peppers.
I just inverted controls. He's going to eat pineapple pizza. This is the end of science and satire, guys. I'm showing your meme on screen, team.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Flat
That's
Earth
all
knowledge supply
JO1
chain.
right there. Good shit.
Why don't we just get the Nathan memes playing, eh? Where is it? I really need to organize this. There we go.
And for everybody out there that's like, yes, that sounds amazing. I am not guaranteeing you guys that I will enjoy it. I'm only guaranteeing you that I'm willing to test my beliefs that pineapple on pizza is the second worst thing behind death to mankind.
Oh, well, you better hate it.
That's a fucked up meme.
Poseidon 63, blasphemy. Pineapple on pizza is blasphemy. I agree with you.
I don't know if you've seen me interact with Nathan Thompson, Mad Philosopher, but these memes are...
No, not yet.
I mean, he cries. Like, I could literally control when he was on screen by playing memes. It was amazing. Anyway, David Keller for $5 says, Mad Philosopher, can you explain the super blood moon on Flat Earth?
No. No, I cannot.
Cool. Honest again. I'm enjoying this. Lucien Andreas for 10 rons. For the love of science, disable autoplay, noob. Yeah, when I'm playing videos inside of vMix, it uses vMix's own browser that doesn't let you sign in, so you can't disable that. Sorry. Ronnie Bradford for $5 says, I saw luminescent algae yesterday for the first time. It was beautiful. Also looking forward to the halo eclipse. Mad Philosopher, do you know how halo eclipses work on a flat Earth?
Halo Eclipse? Oh, like the one coming up this weekend?
Yeah.
Not, I don't know what causes them, no.
Cool.
I just know that we observe them.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to test that without, like, going up there.
Okay.
I'm not sure how to test the cause for that.
It's important to know that it works on the globe model, though. It's explained by the globe model. Which always is never explained.
Mad Philosopher. Okay.
Yeah, what's up?
We normally ask these questions to ridicule people, and in this this time, I got faith in you. Okay, as a flat earther, I think you're going to get these 3 questions correct. So we're going to ask you 3 questions, and I would like you to try to answer them. What are the internal angles on an equilateral triangle, or a triangle that has sides 1, 1, and 1?
What was the what of the triangle, sorry?
The internal angles. What are each of the internal angles of an equilateral triangle or a triangle with sides 1, 1, and 1?
Uh, 60?
Boom!
Oh, he got it right. I was about to say, you're letting me down, bro. You're letting me down. All right. Next question. What is 5 divided by 0?
0?
No, not 0.
You can't divide by 0.
I'll give you one more opportunity.
Sorry.
That's the answer.
Okay,
you can't divide by 0. Yeah. And then the last question is 10 to the negative 17 a positive or negative number?
Negative.
Ah, 2 of 3 wrong. I'm hurting over here, bro. I'm hurting.
It's okay. I still think he's done way better than most flat earthers we've had on here. It looks Erie is disagreeing with me about inverted sticks. He says the analog stick on the right is ahead for looking. So if you pull down on the stick, which way would you look? Well, I don't see it as pulling, I see it as pushing the stick.
He sees it as moving.
Working from the top of the
he
gun.
sees it as.
Yeah, no. If I'm
look. Here's what you're doing. You're moving the. Listen, you're in your head. This is a fundamental difference in how we process the information together, right? When you process the information, you're moving the background with your thumb. So when you push up, you're moving the background down. You know, you're moving like the gun up. I'm looking at it like it's my head. You know, I pull back, I look up. I push forward, I look down.
The way I always thought about it is, I think about it from the tip of the gun, whereas you think about it from tilt in the back of the gun. You fucking
Yes,
weirdo.
exactly.
I tell you, if you ever come to
You're
my
a fucking
house,
weirdo.
no, if you ever come to my house, you are not switching
in
the
life,
controls to inverted.
in
I'm
life,
not
the
letting
next
you.
time you want to look up in life, the next time you want to look up in life, I want you to take the tip of your nose and push your head down, the same way you would do in the game. You're gonna push your head up. Oh wait, hold on, I got that one wrong.
No, but team, I had a
In real
friend
life,
who...
in real life, you pull your head back and you wouldn't be looking down when you pulled back. That's what your problem is. You're just fucking mentally unstable.
Okay, so I've got a friend who not only has the sticks inverted, but they're the wrong way round. It's just... and it doesn't have it the same. It's the same stick does strafing as well as looking up and down. And the other stick does moving left, right. Yeah, it's completely wrong.
Moving forward, back, turning left, right. That's insanity.
Yeah.
That's flat earthism on video controls.
Crafty Keeler for €2 says, click like or Mad Philosopher will visit you. I think he'd probably have a decent coffee and a conversation if he visited you. So that's not too bad. John Watson for £2 says, Hoi FTFE. Hey John, how you doing? Thank you very much for the super chat. Irish Demon for $2 Australian 99 says, a chip could be programmed to do what, Mad Philosopher?
Sorry, say that again?
He's talking about the gyroscopes. He said that a chip could be programmed in them. What could the chip be programmed to do?
I addressed this when I was talking about it. I don't know. I don't know if it's legit. I don't know if it's nefarious. Since I didn't program it, I have no honest way of truly knowing what it's programmed to do. I know what it's supposed to do, like what it's supposed to be programmed to do, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
But since I didn't program it, I would have to take that on faith, and that's not really something that I'm prepared to do when constructing my beliefs of my reality, or my observations and experiences of my reality.
Okay, all right, fair enough. My words are not working today. The Amazingness Moon for $5 says, no, the planets rotate around the sun, you idiot, and water curves. Yeah, I think we covered that. J.O. Warren for $19.99 says, when we plot out the known distances between all cities on the Earth, why do the plot points form a sphere? What do you think about that, Mad Philosopher?
What exactly did they mean by plot them out? Plot them out how?
Well, okay,
just
so
saying plot
remember
them out
the test I was telling you to do? Yeah. So remember when I was suggesting the experiment you do where you plot out the points? You're plotting them out basically. You're taking the data and determining how they would relate to each other, in 3D space. Even in 3D space, you can have a two-dimensional plane. So in 3D space, if you were to plot everything out and they all fit along a two-dimensional plane, then you would say, the surface that they're on is two-dimensional. Now, with my experiment that I was saying, you would plot out a three-dimensional plane and you could determine where each point is in relation to the first point that you did, and you could determine whether the shape of the surface is curving away from that point relative to that point, or if it was along a two-dimensional plane from that point. The same thing that J.L. Warren is talking about is the same thing, basically. If you were to take the known distances between objects, let's say, between Sydney and Melbourne in Australia, because it doesn't really make too much of a difference in the northern hemisphere. It's mostly in the southern hemisphere. But if you were to take 2 points like Sydney and Melbourne, and you were to know their GPS positions as well as the known distance between them, then you could determine that the Earth is not flat, just by those two cities alone. Because on a flat Earth, you would need more distance between them for them to maintain their GPS coordinates. Or they would need different GPS coordinates to maintain their, planar distance between the two.
And I would plot them in something like AutoCAD, or Blender to
Yeah, anything that, Blender, AutoCAD, you could even do, if you know how to do Unity, you could run a Unity program and plot them out in Unity. Again, there's just anywhere where you can have a script that allows you to enter data points, you'll be able to plot those in 3D space.
Okay. Well, if I can get AutoCAD, I'm using a Mac, so I can't.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I
Macs are
know.
superior to
I don't
PCs.
If I can
I
get
used the Mac for 10
AutoCAD or
years.
Blender,
The same Mac I used for 10 years, it never gave me any problems. Fight the Flat Earth has had its computer for about 3 months. It dies once a stream.
Yeah, we've done so well this stream. Don't fucking jinx it. It showed videos and everything without crashing. It's amazing.
Oh, I know, right? I shouldn't have said anything.
Although, just so everybody that's donated towards helping me get better computer parts and everything, and I spoke with the guy that built my computer last year today. He's going to take it away, and for free, he's going to anything that's not working properly, he's going to replace. But he's also given me a really good price on doubling the RAM and going up, I think, 2 generations on the CPU. So everyone that has super chatted and donated to help me with that, thank you very much. Then we've got Vengeance0100 for £4.99. Had to go with patron instead of YouTube member being a pain. It can be sometimes, but thank you very much for becoming a patron. I did see 2 patrons come in today. I don't want to dox you, but thank you for both of the people that became patrons today. And we've got John Watson for £2 says, I don't have a wrench, but am I a spanner? John, you are a spanner. I will give you a wrench. If you tag me, I'll give you a wrench. Rangerman9404 for $5 says, FTFE, how does the movement of the ring laser gyroscope make one path longer than the other? I'm having trouble grasping the concept. Well, it doesn't make the path longer. It makes the path that the light has to travel longer because it's moving. So, in effect, you could say that the bottom of the gyroscope is moving underneath the traveling light, similar to I suppose Coriolis with Earth rotating independently, because of the point that when the light was fired, it's got its inertia based on that reference, and then because the inner workings of the gyroscope move whilst that light which travels in a straight line travels, it means it has to travel a longer distance. Or a shorter distance, depending on the orientation of rotation. I hope that's a good explanation. Vengeance.
I would just say, like, as it rotates, what it does. Think of it like this: if you were on a train, well, it's a bad idea. Okay, think of it like this: if you were on a train, you threw a ball in each direction, right? Well, you would have to start out at a stationary position, but the distance, if the train was moving forward, the distance to the back of the train is shorter than the distance to the front of the train, because the train is moved in that direction. So that's essentially what it's doing. As it's rotating, it's taking the endpoints of the path, and it moves one slightly a bit further, and it moves the other one a little bit closer, because the path is rotating.
Yeah. Okay, and then we got Vengeance0100, who's actually became a member now as well. Thank you very much. You can use the awesome emojis of Nathan Thompson in jail. I see Helioskeptic in the chat has accused me of being in love with Nathan because of all the memes. No, I'm not in love with Nathan. I'm in love with the Nathan memes because they're all fucking awesome. Then we got Bjorn Kamitz, who's also become a member. Thank you very much. And the Hedgehog of Death. That is probably the most awesome YouTube name I've ever heard, the Hedgehog of Death. You're now my favourite, thank you. Has become a member. John Watson for £5 says, I've never seen the dome, I've never seen the ice wall. Problem? Do you see that as a problem, the Mad Philosopher, that you've never seen the dome or an outer ice wall?
Not entirely. I understand why some people see that as an issue. But like I was saying before, when we were talking about the downward force, unless I can actually create that without needing a planetary scale, I believe that it logically follows that we need a container for this gradient. So in order for there to be a container, there has to be an end to the Earth. There has to be a wall. that's why that's another reason why I don't like the edge argument. Like, where's the edge? Or if there's not an edge, is it infinite? Well, you're completely missing the third option of there being a container. So there would have to be a wall somewhere. And if
it's never been observed.
Where the floor meets the wall.
Let me.
No, of course not. But it would if a container, or if a gradient needs a container, or a pressure needs a container, then to me it would logically follow that there is a container, meaning there is an end, a wall somewhere, containing all the waters.
Can I ask you a question? Just given this premise right here, if the dome exists, doesn't it logically follow that we should be able to detect the dome using radar technology?
Sure.
Why don't we detect it?
Well, I mean, have you looked for it using radars?
I mean, we would know it was there because we would get radar signals. We'd have reflected radar signals coming back.
Well, have you heard of
the when it strikes the dome?
Have you heard?
Cosmic
well, you've seen the principle,
background.
right? Yeah, I mean it's.
Yes, I've seen the principle.
It's sort of.
But the principle makes the assumption that the Earth is. But the principle makes the assumption that the Earth is the center of the universe.
It's still a sphere.
It doesn't make the assumption. But it still assumes that there's a universe out there. It just assumes that the universe is
it just assumes it's geocentric.
Right. So they still accept the fact that there's no dome and that the radiation is coming in from outer space.
Well, I don't know how large this dome or how small this dome is, but if we're the center,
if you said that the dome is necessary, if you said the dome is the antecedent for having a pressure gradient, then if the dome was hundreds of thousands of kilometers away, then how is that going to give us a gradient when we see that as rockets take off, when we see as when barometers go up on balloons, as we see whenever you drive up a large hill or mountain, the air pressure, the atmospheric pressure decreases with elevation. Now, there's also been barometer tests that have been shown on balloons that have gotten up to like 20 kilometers up, where it shows that almost no atmospheric pressure exists at certain elevations that are just above us. Now, we as humans on Earth say, that's a long ways away, 20 kilometers, 15 miles. That's a long ways away, but it's really not when you're talking about cosmic scales, or even on the flat Earth scales. The dome would be several hundred kilometers up. I mean, it's not just above our heads, or we would definitely be able to detect it. We'd be able to see it if it was only 20 kilometers above our head. But we don't see it, we don't detect it. The science doesn't support it, like the supporting observations don't support it. If we were in a container with no gravity, we should be looking at something that's more analogous to atmospheric pressure being directly tied to temperature.
Homogeneous.
When you see temperature increase, you should see a pressure increase. Unfortunately, since there is no dome or nothing to restrict the air pressure from expanding, what we actually get is when we have a hot air in our atmosphere, it results in low pressure. This would go exactly against us having a dome up there.
There's actually a video where where a guy takes a was it a propane container, like a propane tank?
Mm-hmm. I think we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, and he like cools the bottom of it. He knows he freely admits that he's supposed to freeze the top of it, not the bottom. But he said that's of course a bit difficult to do. But he did show that there is a little bit of a pressure gradient there, and that the cooler temperature and the warmer temperature does affect that.
But I guarantee you for 100%. I used to work with compressed gases. I used to buy oxygen all the time. Okay, and I guarantee you that when the pressure increased inside of the container, so did the temperature inside the container. So if you were to heat, basically, if you were to heat the container up, thereby heating the gas on the inside up, you could look at the pressure gauge on the outside of it, the regulator, and you would see the pressure going up on the regulator, or on the pressure gauge.
Okay, I don't see that. Why is that an issue on flat Earth?
Well, okay, so yeah, absolutely. Let me give you an idea. So if the Earth was contained, for instance, and let's say the sun heated up the Earth and the Earth heated up the atmosphere, then what you would have is you would have all the molecules pressing harder against the container, therefore pressing harder everywhere. Everywhere at the bottom of the Earth, if you were to put a barometer down, you would have the pressure pushing down harder because the molecules were hotter. All right, this is because it's contained, because they want to escape from each other. They want to get further away from each other.
PV equals
so then, if you were to take the container away, I'm sorry?
It's like ideal gas.
What'd you say?
Right.
Yeah. So if you take the container away, then what ends up happening is you now have room for the gas to expand. And when you have room for the gas to expand, they then become further apart, and you get a drop in pressure. So one prediction can be made that if it was contained, an increase in temperature should result in an increase in pressure. Another prediction can be made to say if we don't have a container, then an increase in pressure would cause the gas to expand away from each other, thereby resulting in less molecules of gas in the column of air directly above the barometer. Therefore, the pressure on the barometer should drop. Now, what we see in reality is that when a low pressure system or a low pressure system moves in, it's always going to be hot air.
Okay. You still there, Mad Philosopher?
Yeah, I'm just trying to take in what you're saying and conceptualize it.
Cool. Any questions you've got about anything we've said or links you want, we'll make sure that you get them. I'm going to bash on all these super chats. Minus for $6.66, Hail Sagan, says he will get it eventually. It sounds like he has something between his ears. So you got a fan there. Oh god, John Crafty Keela for €2 says team got told. I thought you were just a mod. Put in your place, team.
I am. I'm gonna get in my place and go make everybody a sandwich right now for my mistake.
Rangerman 9404 for $2 says Flerf tiers always find their own level. Budumch. Cram Williams for $2 says no one made the claim but you. Now show evidence. He did present evidence, but I think I provided reasons why it wasn't exclusive. And then we've got another member, Adria Stally. Welcome to the Destroyers. Thank you very much. You can also use the emoji of Nathan Thompson in jail, which is where he will be going. I'm pretty sure his court date is... What's it today? It's the 19th. It's just come up to the 19th. His court date's tomorrow, June 20th.
I would say email Nathan, but he probably doesn't know when it is.
No, it was 20th.
What's he going to court
24th.
for? I'm out of the loop with the Nathan thing.
For yelling at kids? For yelling at kids that the earth is flat while they were at school?
24th.
Shit, they charged him for that?
Well, he's got to go to court for it. He got arrested.
Oh yeah, you can't go like you have a young child, right?
Though?
Like
public nuisance,
disturbing the peace, I believe.
Yeah, one of the two.
Okay. Yeah, but either something along those lines. But I want to say something to you. Okay, let's just wherever you decide to send your child. Okay, you have a level of education that you expect them to teach, right? Whether you decide that you're going to send your child to a public school or to a private school that teaches flat Earth or to anything, let's right now assume that you're going to send your child to a private school that teaches flat Earth science. Okay. Would you not feel that I was invading, or I was going and trying to teach something to your children in an environment where you were expecting them to learn something, that I was infringing on your rights and your child's rights and the responsibilities of the school by going there and trying to preach globe Earth to them from outside of the school, handing them flyers over a fence? Would you want me doing that to your child?
Oh, of course not. Yeah, I saw that video, and I definitely, as a parent, would thought that was very inappropriate.
Good.
Yeah, and I think it should be, any flat earther should be allowed to stand on the corner and hand out flyers to people and scream the earth is flat, and even if kids are present, that's fine. But when it comes to a school environment, I think the parents have a certain level of expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it shouldn't, schools are protected in my opinion.
Yeah. Awesome. And we got Theo Megaworthy for $5, and then for another $2, corrects me and you team on the LORAN. We were getting them confused. The LORAN is a short for long range navigation, was hyperbolic radio navigation system, and it's not the same as the Lorentz beam. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was trying to get that from. I was just trying to get it in the moment, you know. But yeah, please share anything you'd like to share with that, because I would definitely. I don't mind learning. Oh, in fact, what is it? It's long range what?
Yeah, it definitely sounded.
Long range navigation.
It definitely sounded like what you were talking about was a little different, but I figured you'd get it once you actually.
Yeah, I'm seeing it now. Loren, L-O-R-E-N.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Craig Emetry, still trying to be the big boy in the chat, yet is clearly the one that's far too scared to back up his words. Iliamoon for $10. Hip hop hippie. I realise that your construction paper stick figure wife gets ruined when you use her fleshlight, but there's no excuse to be so bitter. Oh, real planets have curves. Savage, Iliamoon. Oofed. Oh my god. Team, did you hear that?
No, I'm actually reading up on the Loran right now. What were you saying? What was it?
This is a super chat from Iliamoon for $10. Hip hop hippie. I realise that your construction paper stick figure wife gets ruined when you use your fleshlight, but there's no excuse to be so bitter.
God damn.
Oh.
And hey, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I think the Loran system is what we were using in the TACAN URN radar beacon that I used. I think it's just what I used was a slightly better, slightly new, like more modern version of it. But I'm looking at it right now. I'm reading into it.
Yeah, I think it is one argument.
From the way they're talking about it already, it's. Yeah, well, I mean, it's still has it's going to still have a range.
Yeah.
And the range is you're going to have to explain why the range is longer as you go up and has a limit, you know.
Yeah, well, like I was saying, the technology has obviously changed since then. So maybe some things were tweaked or added or improved in such a way that I mean, they didn't use satellites for that, so it just, for me, it just seems.
But it was very short
plausible that you could use something like that, just on a bigger scale, and just exclude the necessity of satellites or space.
Okay, God the Scummer for £2 says Iliamania is running wild on Triple H. It seems like Iliamoon has been smashing Triple H in the chat. So good job. Beeble for Life for $5 says, stop reading the Oakley, Quantum Erasure and Nathan Thompson script. Do you follow Nathan Oakley or Quantum Erasure? Mad Philosopher?
No, I'm terribly sorry. I was reading something. Sorry, say that again.
Do you follow Nathan Oakley or Quantum Erasure?
Not terribly. I've heard a few of their streams. They're a bit brash.
Yeah, just a general tip. Anything Nathan Oakley and Quantum Erasure ever says is wrong. I mean, just that should be a life philosophy. They can't be right about anything, honestly. Even other flat earthers don't.
Yeah,
like
the
them.
TACAN. I'm reading. I've gone all the way back to my fucking electronics tech manuals and stuff. And yeah, the Loran system is one of the predecessors to TACAN, but it definitely doesn't have anything to do with GPS.
Okay.
The way these work is they're an outgoing signal, and the planes have to have a receiver in it, and so each base has, or each transmitter has its own frequency. So you dial into the frequency of the airport you're looking for, and then when you get in the air, your radio, your transceiver that's on the plane receives the data from the radar, from the LORAN, and it uses it as a strength of signal type thing. So if it gets outside of if it's not looking directly at it, the strength of signal will drop. So the airplane will know to drift back over to where it's pointing closer and closer to the airport until it gets to the airport, and then it's done by radar and visual, like the air traffic controller tower at that point. Okay. But it just seems as if the LORAN was a previous system to it. They now have a new LORAN system out there, though.
Okay, all right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so X-Jezekai for $20 says, you said the stars were part of the dome. As I travelled through South America, why did the southern stars get higher in the sky the further south I travelled? Why didn't they get bigger the closer I get heading south? Mad Philosopher?
Well, like I was saying before with the analogy of using the ceiling, if your ceiling was made of a different material than drywall, and maybe it was some sort of like glassy, crystalline, maybe there's some water or something material. Obviously, there would be some lensing effect or refractive effect. So I just think what the southern hemisphere sees something different because they're closer to that part of the dome, or whatever is containing the stars, and the northern hemisphere is just closer towards the center.
Okay.
Or the very middle, rather.
I've got quite a few problems with that, but I'd have to articulate them properly. Thank you for answering. Now, Carrie Oliver for $33.33 says, pineapple rings around my... No, toothpicks, please. Carrie, I love you, thank you. Theo Megawarty for $5 says, inverted sticks is superior because it matches the altitude. Long live GoldenEye. Yeah, GoldenEye did have inverted sticks.
Yes.
But GoldenEye also had straight
one of them
fit
didn't
on
have any. I thought it was GoldenEye. I thought GoldenEye had no inverted sticks. That's the reason I didn't play GoldenEye.
Yeah, GoldenEye was just straight on, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was only one. I could not play GoldenEye because I was playing X-Wing. I played X-Wing, was my very first shooter game. I mean, it's a flying simulator, but I looked at it as a shooter. That's why I'm stuck with my sticks. I have to pull down to go up because I'm thinking of myself as an airplane.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I use inverted sticks for flying, like Ace Combat 7. I've been playing that a bit. Rangerman944 for $5 says, FTFE, the explanation helped. As for my saying it made the path longer, I hereby ding myself. Well, no, I that's kind of my fault because that's kind of the way I word it. But I'm glad the explanation helped. Thank you. Indie Tiger for $5 says, navigated ships in the Navy, ships out at sea travel in a curve because a curve is the shortest distance on a globe. Yeah, that's true. Look at Great Circle routes. God the Scummer for £5 says, whenever Nathan makes an appearance, I start thinking of the song He's in the Jailhouse Now. There's a video coming up.
Also, Mad Philosopher, that's another thing. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I
want to get back to that Great Circle comment, though.
Oh, well, there's a video coming up on my channel soon that's called Flat Earthers versus the Law, which will feature Nathan quite heavily. But sorry, team, go on.
Yeah, so Mad Philosopher, something you should look into a flight pass from Santiago, Chile to Sydney, Australia. I believe it's Sydney. It might be Melbourne, actually. Let me look at it. One of those, whatever's on the east side of Australia, look for the flight from Santiago, Chile to that. I'm going to look it up so I don't have to...
I've seen a bunch of flight pass stuff.
Yeah, Sydney, Australia. It's going to be. They're both. Melbourne is like southeast, but I think it's Sydney. Okay, so a great circle. But on the if the Earth was a globe, a great circle between Sydney, Australia, and Santiago, Chile, would go south of New Zealand. Okay, on a flat Earth, that flight path would make no sense. They would be setting commercial flight records on land speed and all kinds of craziness because the known distances, like when we were talking about known distances in the southern hemisphere, they run into a problem because on a spherical Earth, the concentric circles that represent the latitude from the North Pole to the South Pole, they get bigger and bigger and bigger until the equator, and then they become smaller, smaller, and smaller. So the distance between Melbourne and, Sydney and Santiago would get longer on a flat Earth than it would be on a globe Earth, by quite a bit, a significant amount longer.
Well, if I had an accurate map to work with, then I might be able to.
Aye, there's no accurate flat Earth map, so that's an interesting thing.
Well, arguably there's no accurate globe map either.
Yeah, there is. It's called a globe.
Well, no, there is. We make predictions based on it, and we can predict what time the plane will land in Sydney when it leaves from Santiago, based on the speed of the plane and the path that it takes, and the amount of time it takes to get there. I mean, we can predict that. You know what I mean? Like if it was longer, we would have to explain why the plane is still able to travel the longer distance and arrive at the same time, especially if, you start running into aerodynamic problems with the design of the plane, the number of engines it has, things of that nature that you'd have to explain the plane being able to fly at, 800, 900 miles per hour.
Which is impossible for most planes.
Yeah, most commercial planes are rated to like 600-700 miles per hour or something like that.
Yeah,
but that's not even, that's wind speed, not even ground speed.
Yeah,
because you can have higher ground speeds with lower wind speeds if you're inside of a pocket of air that's also moving fast.
Okay, moving on, we've got RT96 for $2 says, FTFE, do you want a 2010 Mac Mini? It'll be a step up from your computer. No, Apple products, they scare me. I don't want to go near them.
I don't think you got the joke. Read the joke again. A 2010 Mac Mini
I know. He's saying that
is better than your computer now.
Yeah, it's not though. It's Apple.
I agree with that statement.
Indie Tiger for $20 says, Loran long range aid to navigation, multiple land-based radio signals. The limit occurs because concentric rings from the source become parallel when they get too far away from the transmitter. The signals need to cross. So that's basically what I was saying, is that they use different transmitters to really make sure they're flying in the right path. So if you're flying from like New York to Los Angeles, one transmitter in LA would not be able to reach a transmitter to a plane flying and taking off from New York. So that transmitter might use a Columbus, Ohio beacon to kind of start getting them going in the right direction, and then might use, something that's more like a little bit further Midwest to get it, get the plane heading in that direction. And eventually it will be able to pick up and have a usable signal from LAX. And then it will just use that signal to get it relatively close until it's within radar range. Once it's within radar range, they stop relying on TACAN and any kind of general guidance system. It then becomes very very specific. They have to be able to see the plane, know exactly where it's at. The Loran and TACAN systems only really they have a limited ability to zero in on a point. Yeah, they're nowhere near as accurate as GPS could be. And Magekind for $5 says, you rock, guys. Finally a conversation that isn't even a dumpster fire. I'm proud of this fella. Roll on, my dudes. Yeah, this has been a nice change of pace. And once again, Mad Philosopher, thank you for being the exception to the way that most flat earthers act. Because whether you think you're right or not is never an excuse to just be a dick. I'm a dick when people are a dick to me. And I can be a big dick when people are a dick to me. I fully admit that. But
lies.
Like when this guy comes along and he's
you heard
nice.
that pussy in the background, didn't you? That you heard that pussy? That ain't coming from a physical cat. That's coming from between his fucking legs.
Although Craig Emetry in the chat, I just want to ask, if I give you a place where we're going to meet face to face, what is supposed to happen? What are you saying is going to happen when we meet face to face? Just so we can be clear. And then last one, Juhaya Hansen for $2 says, Link swims like a Flerf in Majora's Mask. Grr. Yeah, Link was never very good at swimming. But that is all for tonight. I want to say thank you for everyone that has sent super chats. It does mean the world, and it allows me to keep doing what I'm doing, and has helped me with repairs for my PC and stuff. So the support is amazing. Thank you so much to the new members and the new patrons I picked up tonight. I know not everyone can support me financially, and the best way to help me otherwise is to just share my stuff on Facebook and Reddit and Twitter and everything. That really, really, really does help me. Thank you for everyone in the chat. It's been amazing. Team, thank you for coming along and triggering the flat earther like you like to do.
Yeah, also just want to go ahead and remind everybody, tomorrow night on my channel we will be having a 25,000 subscriber celebration. I believe Schrodinger's cat said he would come on. We're going to have him on. If Hip Hop Hippie wants to fucking get his mental shit pushed in, he's more than welcome to challenge Schrodinger's cat. I won't be fucking talking to that dipshit. He's a denier. He doesn't even listen. Like, the whole time, Mad Philosopher was sitting here. He didn't agree with us, but he was at least listening. You know what I'm saying? How many times did you say nuh-uh when any one of us said anything, Mad Philosopher? I'm sure you can count on less than one hand how many times you said that.
Yeah, I haven't once.
0, right?
No.
I mean, I didn't say, hey, this was the numbers that we should be expecting, and your answer wasn't nuh-uh, nuh-uh. That's him. We asked him, you know what, here's a huge difference I want you to know. When we asked you for evidence to support your claim, right, you took about 8 to 9 minutes to give us evidence. The last time he was on for a debate, we asked him, provide evidence to support your belief. And his response was, it looks flat. And I'm done. What a piece of shit. What a waste of fucking time for everybody. Hip Hop Hippie. He needs to be exposed for the piece of shit idiot he is.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say his name. Hip Hop Hippie. You are a fucking moron. I would love for you to see, it's not that you don't have evidence to support your claim, because there are pieces of evidence that do need to be explained. The Black Swan, the one that he just showed, which was not actually the Black Swan observation, it was a whole different one, which I appreciate some kind of new fucking shit coming out of y'all's fucking tiny retard community. But, and I'm sorry, Mad Philosopher, I hate to, group you in with them, but unfortunately, when 99.9% of them are fucking degenerate retards, you have to stand out to not be called one. So I do apologize for that. But at the same time, Hip Hop Hippie, get a fucking life. Quit sweating our dick. Quit showing up in our chats, fucking making this your main fucking source of entertainment in life. Go outside, breathe fresh air, get yourself some sun, take your wife out, have a good time. There's got to be, you guys have to be able to find something better to do than to come in here and have everybody in the chat call you a fucking moron. I mean, do you not have anything better in life to do than accept that from us?
Thing, right?
Fucking moron.
My chats, every single comment that mentions Hip Hop Hippie he responds to. He trolls my comment, literally trolls it, looking for his name so he can respond. He has such a shallow ego. It's incredible.
I just never went places where I wasn't welcome, because I was just never that desperate for attention. And I've never run out of places to find myself welcome at. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I had the choice right now of going to Nathan Oakley's chat and fucking dealing with what Hip Hop Hippie has to deal with over here, I'd probably just watch, like, fucking random-ass Netflix videos. Yeah. I would go outside and walk my dog instead. I would go visit my mom and hang out with her for a few hours. Maybe his family doesn't love him. I don't know. I don't know his situation. It sounds about right, but I absolutely don't know his situation.
We've got one more super chat. Wesley Zamboy for $2.79 Canadian dollars. Thanks, buddy. Love from Saskatchewan. Thank you very much. Mad Philosopher, any final thoughts before we get out of here for tonight?
Sure. Actually, yeah, this is. I'm not obviously not gonna agree right away. I don't expect you guys to. And quite honestly, if someone were to just have a conversation like this and flip right, just like that, I think there's something wrong with them. But
Agree.
I don't. I'll never just ignore evidence. If anyone's got something to present, I'll gladly look at it. But I can't just take things on faith that someone says something or a concept says this, therefore it has to be true. I love presenting or proving things to myself. I love gaining primary knowledge. That way I can construct my reality in my head according to what I really experienced. And not just
do you believe in God?
On other people's faith? Of course I do.
Sorry, I thought you were done. You believe in God? Well, where's your scrutiny to that evidence? I mean, have you ever seen? Wouldn't you say that a belief in God is completely faith-based and has no evidence, no physical evidence that you could show me whatsoever? I mean, why do you hold one belief for one thing and another one? Why do you hold one scrutiny towards a belief on one side of the fence, but when it comes to another topic, you have no scrutiny of belief whatsoever?
Well, I do. It's just I believe God to be self-evident. I see God in everything. Vortex math itself.
How is the globe Earth not self-evident? But how is the globe Earth not self-evident? You can walk outside on the equinox and look outside and see that the sun rises due east, and you can, with that one observation that happens twice a year, you could determine that the Earth is not flat from just that one observation. And anybody can do it twice a year, every year.
I don't see that as...
okay, so on the equator, on the equinox, on the equator, the sun... Okay, so on the equinox, on the equator, if you're standing on the equator, the sun will rise due east. It will set due west. The solar noon, the subsolar point will cross you where you're at. So that means the sun will be directly overhead. Now, if you trace this path out during the daytime on the equator, it makes a straight line from sunrise to sunset. On any flat Earth map, any flat Earth explanation whatsoever, there is never a sun that travels in a straight line. Now, people have tried to explain this by saying, oh, well, the Earth is more like a Pac-Man Earth. It goes all the way left, it hits a point, and then it just reappears on the other side because it's all in a simulation. All these ridiculous claims have been made just simply on the natural observation that shows the sun rising due east, going straight overhead, and setting due west.
Well, the problem is you're always going to see...
That's self-evident to me.
You're always going to see in a apparent number. Like, just looking at the sun, you're never going to see the actual real position of the sun. Like, even on a flat Earth, there's just too many factors prohibiting that. Not only that, not being able to go up and test it on a flat Earth, we don't actually know the true nature of the sun. We don't know how it appears one place, but has evidence of being somewhere else, like having different
well, here's
arcs.
the thing. Here's the thing about that. Here's the thing about that. When we use everything else we know about the Earth, right? When we make the predictions based on the shape of its surface, when we make the predictions based on rotation, when we make the predictions based on our cosmological geometry, this is a prediction that comes out. We can predict that on the equinox, on the equator, the sun should rise due east, go directly overhead, and set due west. We can make that prediction. And then when we go to look at that observation to see if our prediction matches reality, sure enough, it matches reality. That's pretty damning evidence to go against the flat Earth, especially like when most flat Earth models have on the equinox, at a person on the equator, they would see the sun rise 45 degrees due north of the due east. I'm not saying due north, I'm sorry. They would rise 45 degrees north of due east. We don't see that. Even with refraction, you would see maybe a slight change, but nothing that would move the sun from 45 degrees north of due east down to due east for the sunrise.
I think
just something to think about. It might be it might be that this is new to you, and I don't expect you just to pick up on it and go, oh, you know what, you're right. Why don't you just remember that one and go look at it and see exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, just whenever you get a chance, look at that observation and try to use the self-evident existence of God, and try to apply that same logic to that observation, and tell me and explain and come back and say, look, it's not self-evident that it's a globe because of this observation, because of these reasons.
Okay.
Okay. If you guys wanted to see any of the videos that Mad Philosopher has made, his link is in the description. If you want to talk to him about any experiments, I'm going to send him links to mine and team's Discord. So hopefully we'll see him over there at some point. One more super chat. We've got Theo Megawarty for $2. Says, it's attitude, not altitude. Solitaire controls, yes. Of course, that's what you meant. My bad. But yeah, it's been uniquely different tonight. A breath of fresh air. I enjoyed that. So thank you again, the Mad Philosopher. Thank you, team, for coming on. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you, everyone that super chatted and became a member and patron. Your support blows my mind constantly every single day. Look out for new videos soon, and look out for me on Simon Dan's channel next Friday. Tomorrow on Simon Dan's channel you can see MC Toon, and then me the following week. But for now, I'm out of here, guys. Remember, stupidity is not a right. Fight the flat earth.
Fight the flat. Fight the flat. Fight the flat.